Thank you, Adam. Good morning, all.
Good morning, everybody.
What's up, gang?
What is up with the Flyers?
They're winning. Coming from behind to do so.
I know.
15 seconds. Y'all ready for this? Da-na-na.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. We asked the question, how the heck are you, Miller and Moulton, getting over the hump? It's a hump day edition. Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I'm back in Jacksonville, where, by the way, it was 48 degrees last night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened overnight. The cold front came in. Florida, it's winter in Florida.
It darn near is. Yeah. It's mid-December weather, mid-January weather.
You're in for a whole new weather pattern up there in the north. Those South Georgia winters are a lot tougher than those Southwest Florida winters. Let me tell you.
Usually there's about a 6-degree difference between Jacksonville and Southwest Florida, but in winter it could be 26 degrees. It can be.
You're damn right.
Yeah. Mark, and usually, see, I am one who boards the plane dressing for where I'm going. So there are times in which, needless to say, I get on a plane in shorts and a golf shirt, say, and, flip-flops, sandals of some kind. And everybody's looking around at me, and I just finally have to say, head to Florida. And they still think of the, dressed weirdly, but at least, they're going to get off the plane. It's going to be a certain temperature. Miscalculated yesterday. This thing arrived about a half a day early. Got off the plane yesterday and had a hell of a travel situation and ended up having to drive from Atlanta to Jacksonville last night and got off the plane in Atlanta and it was 48. And needless to say, miscalculation there.
That's a miscalculation because you're busy. You're doing sports, you're doing games, but that was one I even knew because half the United States they had in this blue, major temperature jobs, cold front. But you were in LA, you were in SoFi, you were living the Santa Monica life.
Right. I was walking a pier just the day before going, wow, this is lovely. And see, I paid attention somewhat. I knew it was coming. I just miscalculated. I thought it was coming today. It arrived yesterday. That's all. So, walking to get the car outside in Atlanta, and everybody's got pants on and long sleeve shirts and jackets, and there I am.
Code shoes. That's the thing they had too.
I know. They wore socks and they had shoes that covered their toes. Right. I had neither. And I had shorts on. And I had a golf shirt on. I'm carrying my luggage going, good thing you're fat. Because otherwise this would be very problematic. Well, that manatee, life that I have. It does come in handy, like when you miscalculate the weather.
Right, but those manatee like 78 degrees. They don't like 48 degrees. I don't know. They like that natural spring, David. It doesn't sound like you were in much of a natural spring last night.
No, but we'll we'll make it. Put it this way: I'm indoors with pants on. I have to admit, during the commercial breaks, I'm gonna have to think, when was the last time in the state of Florida that I was indoors with pants on?
Hold up. Does this call for a Mark Miller pants advisory?
No, it's not that bad. It's wonderful.
No.
We're not there just yet.
No socks and flops advisory either. Socks and Crocs. I think it's perfect socks and Crocs weather right
I would
now.
agree with that.
Ooh, socks and Crocs. Getting the paper in the morning.
I've never gone with the Crocs, and I probably should, because as we've discussed before, my feet are wide enough where I really can walk on water for a short time. I mean, and Mark has had to witness it. I mean, I've got a little Daffy Duck in me, don't I, with those feet?
I've always just left it at Fred Flintstone and stopped there. I mean, just the impressions of the car you had in your younger days where you could see down to the ground.
Correct.
So
that is true.
The combination of the feet, the large cranium, and you and I with the weight, it's a Fred and Barney thing. I just kind of stopped there, David.
If I had taken the stop sign out as to being my floorboard in my 73 Maverick, which I was driving around in 83 and 84 and 85, if I had taken that stop sign out, it could have been Fred Flintstone. That's how I would have been stopping, coming up to the lights, feet on the ground, quickly pedaling, trying to slow that sucker down.
Miller and Moulton on a Wednesday morning. We have a terrific show lined up for you today.
Yeah, we really do.
We
really do. At Bud Elliott, 7:30, 8 o'clock, we'll talk a little Dolphins. 8:38, it'll probably get very lively with Seth. Very lively with Seth Everett. And got a NASCAR driver calling into the show in our bonus hour. I mean, they're down to just, 3-4 races. I think 3.
3.
Yeah, that's it, baby. And Aric Almirola is the driver. He's a Tampa native. And it could be the final 3 races of his career. So we'll talk to Aric in our bonus hour.
I am curious from Aric to how it is driving in the playoff when you're not in the playoff. You and I got into this yesterday, and it's not so much that I'm a gearhead and a NASCAR guy, but these playoffs are so different than any other playoff. It would be the Astros playing the Mariners today, and it would count in the series against the Yankees.
Right, and it really counts for the Astros, and the Mariners are just playing with house money.
Right. Everything about the NASCAR playoff is just bizarre in comparison to how we have playoffs in the other sports. Even golf now, the FedEx Cup, they figured out their Tour Championship. I think it's quirky. I don't like it, but they figured out where every player in the Tour Championship's in the event. I mean, it is possible for the guy that's in last place to play his tail off and win it. Highly unlikely, but it's possible.
So we'll talk to Aric Almirola about that and a few other things, and Homestead as a track and all that. Third to last race of the NASCAR season coming up this Sunday. Aric Almirola joins us in about 3 hours here on Miller and Moulton. So, yeah, lively show. Good show. I did not have television on the plane, which, I was a little bummed about. It's a long flight. I was kind of hoping for a little TV. And I don't know if you do this. Do you ever watch anybody else's TV when you're on the plane? Like,
no.
All of a sudden you look over and you go, oh, wow, they got a good movie. Oh, they got this good movie on it. And, oh, yeah, it's coming up now on that scene.
No, I don't. I mean, you can't help but get a glance and try to see what they're watching. But at that point, you got to just give up.
And so, I just decided to just keep sleeping, to be honest with you. Listen, this was embarrassing. And I don't get embarrassed easily or often. Maybe that's something I should be a little bit more aware of, because goodness knows I have been embarrassing. I just haven't felt it. So, I talk often about I'm asleep before the plane takes off. Well, that happened again yesterday. except we didn't take off. So I'm sound asleep. And, I've said what wakes me up is the beverage cart, because usually they'll run into my knee or my shoulder or just,
They're going to catch, if you're on the aisle, they're going to catch some part of you, David.
Yes, and I'm always on the aisle. And also people start talking and moving, and for whatever reason, when the lady's right there is when I wake up. Okay. Well, she wasn't right there because apparently we didn't take off. And we had a delay, and I had no idea. So I sleep like an hour and a half. And I wake up, and I'm a little disoriented, and people are walking about the plane. The lights are on. And finally, I realized we're still on the ground. And so I had to ask this mom in the aisle seat across from me, this is embarrassing. What's going on? I was asleep. So she explained to me, we got a broken part. They're fixing it. Oh, okay, great. Thanks. Are we going to get off the ground? She goes, it's 50-50. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. So no TV. And then, of course, Mark, I waited until we started backing up, and then I realized, we're taking off. So then I went back to sleep again before takeoff.
Well, if you watched the first inning, you saw everything you needed to see in the Yankee game.
That's when I landed, I found that out. I went, hey, okay. I really didn't miss much.
And Francona will get asked over and over again why he didn't start Bieber in the game.
Right. Boone did. He started his best guy that he could start on 3 days rest. Francona, Bieber had never started on 3 days rest before, and, he wasn't going to do it in the playoffs. Well, then you get to go home.
So very anticlimactic in the American League Divisional Series.
Although I'm told that apparently the Yankees kind of rocked the cradle and then some at the end of the game.
Sure, they got the force out and they did a little rock and a couple of them. Yeah. What did anybody expect them to do?
Well, I like that, though. I like that. Come on. The Yankees oftentimes are stoic. The Yankees, we expect to win.
But this group we've talked about for a while, they're different than those Yankees. One, they haven't won. And two, they seem to be a little bit more loose, a little more fun than the normal Yankee group.
And so I like the fact that they gave it back to him. They remembered. He's still getting hit next year,
Oh, plunked. And maybe more than once, David. He may have to take two. He may have to take one for the rocking the baby and one just because.
I will say, I think they retaliate on the second one. All right. I think even the Guardians will go, you knew the one was coming. The second one, I think they go, okay, we're hitting Judge or Stanton, just letting you know.
Miller and Moulton, thanks for joining us this morning. Great show lined up. The starting five, a mere 25 minutes away right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on Fifth Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So where was Walton? Was he at the Golden State Lakers game?
No, he was at the he was in the second row behind the plate for the Padres Phillies in a Padres jersey.
Oh my goodness! Like you couldn't see that big head and that big body. I'm sure he.
And you couldn't miss him. I'm like, that's Walton, isn't it? I'm like, that's got to be Walton. And they didn't bother showing who it was till about the seventh inning stretch of some of the fans and the,
Right.
celebrities in the crowd, I should say. Schwarber hit that so flipping hard.
So I was listening to the radio, obviously. Boog Shambi said during the commercial break he went over to the Padres booth and basically asked Tony Gwynn Jr. and whoever else doing the game on the radio, like, you ever seen? And they said, no, we've never seen anybody hit it into the second deck in right field. So
488 feet.
You got all of that one.
Wow.
It's when Costner walks to the mound. Man, anything traveling that far should have a stewardess on it. You told him what was coming, didn't you? Yes, I did. Don't ever shake me off again.
The other day, a first-generation iPhone from 2007 sold for nearly $40,000 at an auction.
I believe it was an unopened one, though.
Right, which makes it worth that much. My mom had one of those. That was crazy. 30 seconds. All right, here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes after the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Starting 5 in a little less than 20 minutes. Thanks for waking up with us. Hope your week's off to a good start as we get over the proverbial hump together. So, how late into Padres Phillies did you make it?
I watched the whole game.
Wow.
Got a nap yesterday, David.
Ho, ho, ho.
I got a nap. I was watching basketball. I was watching the Lightning. I was watching the baseball. It was a glorious. We said it was a great sports night. The NBA was opening. You had Flyers Lightning in our backyard, essentially, and then the baseball games. It was a really good sports day.
Wow, and I will say the baseball game moved. I mean, after all, there was 4 hits in the second game. 4. That's it. Zip. That's both teams, by the way. 4. So it moved about as fast as baseball can move these days.
Yep.
I'll be quick because I think I heard the words Mark Miller watched basketball. I'm assuming you watched the Sixers Celtics game. From what you saw, did you like the product?
No.
No? Still nothing?
I don't like the NBA product. I like the players. I watched it. You know what typified the game for me? Like Harden made a sick 3 that I thought was a great play. But what the big thing they're talking about today in the NBA game is Joel Embiid and Marcus Smart getting tangled up. What happened on that play is why I hate the NBA. Because Joel Embiid and Marcus Smart got tied up. Marcus Smart dove. He fell on the ground like somebody shot him out of the third row with a sniper rifle.
Yeah.
Then after that, he reached and grabbed Joel Embiid. Just let me finish, please, okay?
Of course.
Then he finished by grabbing Joel Embiid somewhere around the calf. Joel Embiid, at that point, fell as if he was hit with double sniper rifles from 2 different ends of the court, and they both laid on the ground. And they talk about this huge stirrup and mix-up. You'd be laughed off the goddamn ice in hockey if you tried to pull crap like that. Okay? You'd be laughed off the field in football if you tried to get pulled like that. You'd be thrown at in baseball if you tried to be pulled at. The league has become so damn soft that's the play. That's the play on Barstool. That's the play on Score. That's the play on ESPN.com. That is the single play that they are going to from last night's game, and it was 2 guys diving.
But other than that,
No. Not other than that. If that's the biggest headline from the first game of the season, there are 2 takeaways from the game. The tribute they did to Bill Russell at the beginning, that was very, very, very nice. Well done. And then the dust up. I mean, I can read you the headlines. I get up at 3:30 every morning to make sure I don't miss anything. Those are the headlines from that game. I know you didn't see a play of that game because you were driving last night. David, you do our Sports Center coming up here. Is that the headline from the game that you saw?
Apparently it was a really big deal. And I thought you described it very accurately. And not only in the other sports, what they would think of you, quite frankly, a generation ago in the NBA, you'd come to the bench and somebody would say to you, dude, don't pull that crap again.
But that's the media's fault.
No, it's not.
No.
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 Blame the media for guys diving on the court.
No, I'm saying it's the media's fault for making it even a big deal. If you look past that, again, as a basketball fan, a fan of the game, it was actually a fantastic
You know what,
game.
Felipe? I'm a fan of the game. I've been a fan of the game for 50 years. This is not the game I'm a fan of. Okay? I'm like Seth here. This game's not as good as it used to be. It relies on 3-pointers. It's 140 points last night. There was no defense played in that game.
No, I think it was 100.
That was an exhibition game. They'll start playing. When I start watching, they start playing defense again in the postseason. Would I go to a game and enjoy the hell out of myself? Absolutely. Live sporting events are great, and they are tremendous athletes. I do not knock any of their talent one bit. They are more talented. They are faster. They are stronger. But the game they play is not of the same quality as it could be if they actually played the game hard every night.
I mean, we can agree to disagree. I thought it was.
Yeah, you blamed the media for it.
No, because you talked about them making it a big story. Yeah, because the person that makes it a story in the first place is the media.
Well, the funny thing is, the people who are the media online at all these different sites, Felipe, are about 4 years older than you. I mean, the people that are handling the digital headlines and content and what have you, okay, very few of them have a 3, all right, in terms of how old they are.
And post-game, when the player involved in it said, I could have cracked his head open. Really? So if you'd have sucker punched him, it would have been better? I mean, we're all going Draymond now?
Oh, wait, the two of them looked good last night. I know you didn't watch that, but who said they couldn't be teammates still?
Well, Draymond's playing for a contract. So Draymond's going to have to suck it up and get along with everybody because he knows he's not coming back to Golden State. He's auditioning for the rest of the league here.
Because they're not going to get clipped with that tax again at that rate.
Well, remember, they're paying $500 million, not this year, but the next year. They're paying $500 million total between salary and luxury tax. Just under $500 million. That doesn't include Draymond because Draymond's not under contract for next year. Okay, so they would have to add not just Draymond's salary, which they can by league rules. He's their free agent. They can sign him, and it does not matter how much they pay him. But whatever they give him, times it by like 3, because that's what the cap hit would be. So if they give him $25 million a year, they're basically giving him $100 million a year on their books. So it's another reason why he's not returning to Golden State.
Plus, the Warriors could be in a situation where if James Wiseman plays well, he's eligible for an extension.
Oh, if James Wiseman plays well, I'm telling you, breaking down the James Wiseman deal on the Florida Sports Network is where we need to be at 628. Holy for the love of God. Okay. Pump the brakes.
Right, this is the baseball hour. I forgot.
That's right.
Sorry.
That's right. The NBA fan's not up yet. Heck, they may be up for the bonus hour.
Yeah.
Speaking of the baseball hour, I did have a moment, and once again, I was driving. All right, missed my connector driving. So Wheeler's got a 1-hitter through 7.
Yes.
And on top of that, he's been very economical because the Padres made 10 outs of the 21 within the first 2 pitches of the at-bat. So Zach Wheeler had thrown 83 pitches and had a 1-hitter going. And so, of course, since he had pitched 7 innings, and once you pitch 7 innings, I think it's now a league rule, you must be removed from the game. That's the new complete game. Zach Wheeler with a 1-hitter, having allowed 1 base runner since the first inning, was removed from the game. And I am screaming to no one in particular in my car, driving, going, "What are you doing?" And at that moment, even though I wanted the Phillies to win, because I know a bunch of Phillies fans and all that, I was wanting the Phillies to blow a 2-0 lead and lose because Zach Wheeler should have remained in the damn game. But I digress.
Boy, oh boy, and when the winning run comes to the plate in the bottom of the 9th, and I know they've put their kind of closer by committee, but start throwing the ball around a little bit, and all of a sudden, winning runs at the plate.
Right. I'm sitting there going, if Zach Wheeler was still on the hill here, having thrown about 100 to 105 pitches, I'd feel a lot better facing Manny Machado with Zach Wheeler on the mound. But, 83 pitches, he's got to sit down.
What's amazing is all they talked about yesterday is how patient the Padres are, and last night they weren't at all. I mean, they're a team that likes to take pitches and get deep into counts. And last night they're swinging at everything early, trying to take advantage of, Wheeler throwing first pitch strikes, and he was great. Both pitchers were. Darvish made two mistakes, but they ended up out of the ballpark.
Soto had an ugly strikeout.
The one by Harper cleared the fence by 5 feet. The one by Schwarber is still traveling.
Yes, it is. I think it followed the Chargers to SoFi. The starting five is next.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hell, the last strike of the game was on a swing and a miss on a pitch that was way inside. Padres did look stupid last night. Tell you what, Paul, if you like Duncan and the Spurs, you would love the Warriors, because the way that they move the ball is a thing of beauty.
How the hell? It's one thing that Sean Miller's getting another job. He's hiring Book Richardson as an assistant.
The guy caught up in the scandal.
Guy that went to prison for 3 months, yes.
Right. The only one who basically got really punished.
Right. That's interesting. Well, Xavier's a Catholic school, so it's all about, second chances and forgiveness, right?
I thought it was about the money.
That too. You mean, did he donate a bunch of money to get forgiveness and a second chance?
I think Sean just went to them and said, listen, this is what I need to win. And if we win, we'll make the money that you're looking for.
Not to mention all the stuff he did that was illegal is now legal.
Correct. Don't worry, Jimmy. You'll never have NBA hour. Plus, Felipe does his own podcast.
I should do my own podcast.
You should. Told you that yesterday.
Absolutely, you should. It doesn't matter how many people listen. You're practicing. In theory, you'll get better.
And you kind of have a place here to do it every day.
True. Studio, a whole ass studio.
Would probably help your editing skills, would probably help you be able to dissect things from this show a lot more easily.
I think also you would understand timing. Like anything else, the more you do it, usually the better you get at it, except golf.
Stupid game.
30 seconds. Where are you playing today, Mark?
At my course.
Nice. Can you bring guests?
Yep.
Bring me.
I'll get right on that.
Show you how the Southpaws do it. All right, here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Bud Elliott. 1 hour from now here on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Poll question coming up. Clutch Vodka Play of the Day coming up as well. You still letting Felipe pick those out?
Yep.
So let me get this straight. So your 8-year-old daughter's doing your football picks and Felipe's doing the play of the day. You got this delegating thing going on here.
Someone has to.
Just as you know, you've been married a while. I've been married a while. Is this because, let's face it, I mean, neither one of us is the boss at home. Okay. So, since, we get dictated to, do you then have to take it out on others?
I don't really think it's taking it out on others. First off, daughter's been beating my doors down trying to make the picks for this week. She went 3-2. She's fired up.
She wants to make them on Wednesday, right?
Right. She actually asked me, says, can you call your guy and get me a number?
Let me tell you something. All right. And your daughter could do it. All right. Because she's got the gift of gab and she's got great mannerisms. And it would be spectacular if, like, at soccer practice or whatever practice where, like one of the dads comes up to you because they know you from the show. And if your daughter could look right at him and somehow the picks get mentioned, she looks right at him and goes, well, I know a guy. I got a guy.
That would be
great.
It would be outstanding. And as far as the play of the day, Felipe is on a probationary period.
Okay.
It began today. See, up until today, there was no NBA season.
Right.
I want to see how he's able to walk the line with the play of the day going forward.
So in other words, you're testing him to see whether or not he can look at the sports world as a whole.
Correct.
Not just the small part of the sports world that he wants to focus on.
Exactly.
So before he goes to work for NBA TV or NBA radio, okay, you're going to try to teach him about the world at large.
We'll do our best.
Right.
Oh, I've got the clutch play already. It's not an NBA play.
Look at that. Look at that. I think he's trying to impress.
No.
Okay.
Listen, I had other sports on my other TV last night.
Okay. I'm impressed by the way that your age that you've got more than, multiple ways to watch things at the same time. That's
Oh,
that's
you
good.
shouldn't be impressed by that. That's a
Okay.
piece of cake for people my age.
Okay. Well, I was thinking TVs. I mean, I'm of the age. I'm not watching sports on computers and phones. I'm tracking them. Okay, but I'm not watching.
The starting five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the starting 5 on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
We'll start with baseball, and it was over 21 pitches in. Terry Francona made the decision to stick with his number 4 starter, Aaron Savale, and he hadn't pitched in the series, and there was a reason why. He was wild, and when he finally found the strike zone, Giancarlo Stanton hit it out of the park for a 3-run homer, and that was pretty much it. Cortez got through 5 innings on short rest, only gave up a run. The Yankees bullpen was perfect. Yankees eliminate the Guardians 5-1 and immediately flew to Houston because the ALCS is getting underway today. Yeah. Jameson Taillon against Justin Verlander. Astros won 5 of the 7 regular season meetings, and as we've seen in the playoffs this year, that don't mean squat.
This has been wild from that standpoint. There's no previous meeting stuff that means a damn thing in this postseason.
No. Braves won the season series against the Phillies. Dodgers dominated the season series against the Padres. Yeah, they're both watching game 1 of the NLCS last night where Zach Wheeler threw a 1-hitter for 7 innings. He threw 83 pitches, so he had to come out of the game. But the Phillies bullpen held on, a perfect 8th and, a walk and an error in the 9th, but they got the final outs. San Diego had just 4 base runners in the game, 2 of them in the 9th. 2-0 Phillies. Kyle Schwarber hit a homer, which is still going.
Wow, did he crush that baseball?
He hit it to a part of the ballpark that those who broadcast Padres games said last night they have never seen a ball hit there. Mark, the Kyle Schwarber signing is one that we refer to as a really good free agent signing. I mean, what did he lead the league with, like 48 home runs?
Don't think it was that many. I think he's getting up to the postseason, but yes.
46, 48, something. Yeah, just second to Judge in all of baseball with homers. Yeah. 2-0 Phillies. It'll be Aaron Nola against Blake Snell in game 2 today. What's interesting about this is that if the Padres play who they normally play, Aaron Nola's brother plays for the Padres. The Nolas will become just the 7th set of brothers to face one another in the baseball postseason. They will, since Aaron's a pitcher, however, be the first set of brothers where one is pitching to the other. The last brothers to face one another in the baseball postseason, the Alomars, Roberto and Sandy, not when Roberto was with Toronto, but when he was with Baltimore. And it was Baltimore and Cleveland that met in back-to-back playoff years, I believe 96 and 97. NFL owners meetings, Mark, and not everybody likes each other.
No, they don't. And some guys were talking.
Yeah. Well, first, Jim Irsay. And now I got to admit, I agree with what he said, okay, to some extent. And what he said, by the way, is that, quote, there is merit, unquote, to removing Daniel Snyder as owner of the Commanders. Oh, okay. All right. We're going to go down that road. Fine. Okay. We could debate it. I agree with, some of it. But for Jim Irsay to be the guy, Mark, who's going public saying, we got the goods on him. He's been kind of an unfit guy. We could move on from him. Jim, who there's been a few incidents with Jim. Jim likes to medicate. And sometimes he's done it and gotten behind the wheel of a car. And Jim got suspended at least once by the league because, Jim hasn't behaved himself properly. So that's all. I'm just saying there might have been another owner or two who could have said that out loud. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. I just thought it was a bad look.
Yeah, the owners that could have said it don't talk.
Correct.
They don't ever say anything. In fact, all these owners that you're thinking of, we've never heard from ever.
So then apparently Rodgers' contract's coming up. And so they did one of those, voice votes. Okay. Raise your hand if you're in favor that we sit down and we start negotiating a new contract with Roger. I. And then there's one nay. And that was Jarrah. And Jarrah's saying, it's not that I don't like Roger. Roger's a great guy. He's doing a great job. It's just that the financial compensation, I just think we're giving him too much money too easily. I just think he needs to earn it. That's all. I want specific things that he has to do to earn the money. And the rest of the owners are looking at Jerry going, you do know we're making $20 billion a year, right, in revenue? Okay, I mean, what thresholds do you think he's not
away
making?
from a work stoppage? You've had new TV contract after new TV contract after new TV contract. Isn't that what his job is? And he falls on the shield every time that he can.
I mean, getting over $1 billion a year for that Thursday night product, shouldn't that get you a contract extension just for that? So 31-1 was the vote, and apparently Kraft kind of looked at Jerry like, Jerry, what are you doing? And Jerry reportedly said, don't F with me. At which point Kraft said, excuse me? And so they played that verbal game. And that's alpha dog versus alpha dog there.
Robert Kraft said, Elton John just played my wedding. What do you got?
Well, and also Kraft's looking at Jerry going, hey, I'm smart enough to marry my little side thing, okay? Just sit down over there. Got it? And by the way, Raj came to my wedding. So just pay attention to that. Russell Wilson's day-to-day with a hamstring injury. The Chargers kicker, Dustin Hopkins, he's out 2 to 4 weeks with a hamstring strain. That after making 4 field goals, including the game winner Monday night. The Bucs are going to be without Logan Ryan, probably till December. He was placed on the injured list with foot surgery. And the Ravens add Deshaun Jackson, looking for a deep threat.
I bet Deshaun Jackson could still burn any corner.
Well, the Ravens are hoping that's the case. I mean, what's he, 35 now? NBA opening night last night in Boston. Celtics handled the Sixers 126-117. Both Tatum and Brown had 35. Harden had the same, the most points he scored as a Sixer. Embiid, 26 points, 15 rebounds. Golden State pulled away in the third quarter. It was a close game throughout the first half, but they beat the Lakers 123-109. Steph with 33, 37-year-old LeBron James, who turns 38 in 2 months. Yeah, he had 31 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists.
Light work.
The Magic tip off their season tonight in Detroit. Heat host the Bulls. A couple of other interesting games. Zion and the Pelicans are in Brooklyn. Face KD and Kyrie. And a rematch of that second-round series last year in Phoenix, the Mavs and the Suns. Mark, the Flyers are 3-0.
Yes, they are. Took down the Lightning coming from behind last night, 3-2.
Down 2-0. They win it. And the Lightning are 1-3. They've scored 10 goals. And Stamkos, who scored both their goals last night, has 6 of their 10. At one point, I think the captain's got to look around and go, hey, guys, the season has started, okay? A little help here. A little help. Ottawa beat Boston 7-5. Columbus got their first win over Vancouver in overtime 4-3. Seth will be happy. The Devils got their first win 4-2 over Anaheim. Islanders 5-2 over San Jose. Calgary's 3-0. They beat Vegas 3-2. Buffalo beat Edmonton in Edmonton 4-2. And the Kings in a shootout over Nashville 4-3. And NASCAR suspended Bubba Watson for that little brouhaha. Man, this ain't your dad.
What is going on?
This ain't your dad and granddad's NASCAR. When can't a guy who, after getting pinched / wrecked, okay, then he wrecks the other guy and then he meets him and throws a couple punches at him? We're suspending guys for that? Man, tell you, I don't know. It's new NASCAR. And that was
the Starting Five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
You know, one thing you didn't mention that came out yesterday is it looks like Amazon is finally going to get a good game. I think this whole Black Friday football game is going to be a big hit for Amazon.
Well, I know the college football world's not happy about it, and the other networks, it'll be interesting because now they're not challenging Thursday Night Football anymore with a decent college game. Will they back away from Black Friday? Because there's games scheduled Black Friday, good games. Will they keep scheduling them?
I thought it was a win for Amazon, though. I think that's a great slot that could turn into a pretty good little annual thing for them.
3:00, I think, is when they're planning on playing the game on Black Friday.
Let the ladies shop. Let's get in front of the TV and watch some NFL football. That's the way that it goes. Miller and Moulton, we thank you so much for listening on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Well, also there's been a long-standing SEC game on Black Friday. The game has changed over the years, but I think CBS was hoping to, because CBS has been broadcasting a Black Friday SEC game forever. I think they're hoping to also broadcast a Black Friday Big Ten game.
So what's the Black Friday NFL game?
Not until next year.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, I'm assuming Thanksgiving games will be back on NBC on Thursday? Or is
The
it
late one.
Oh, the late one.
Yeah, both networks always get a game, Fox and CBS.
Right. So yeah, Fox gets the early game.
No, it alternates every year.
Gotcha.
Because this way each network gets the Cowboys every other year.
This year, the Lions game, you get the Bills.
My God, they're gonna beat the crap.
I think it's CBS early this year.
Right, because it's Bills at Lions. Although that doesn't matter anymore.
No, it doesn't. I think we were in Detroit last year for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Lions are the early game. Giants, Cowboys, the middle, and then Patriots, Vikings.
Yeah, it's just a matter of what network the games are on. The Lions are always early, and the Cowboys are always 4:00. What's the late game?
Giants, Cowboys. Oh, the late game's Patriots, Vikings.
But I think this year the Bills game is CBS.
It is, according to what this says.
It'll be the first time I don't work Thanksgiving since like 85. except for the year I was fired out of the business. I don't know if I worked Thanksgiving in 93. I don't think I did.
20 seconds.
You go to Arizona twice?
Do we?
Yeah.
Here we go.
I know we go once.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, it's hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this hump day. Thanks for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Poll question, play of the day, all coming up before Bud Elliott in about 35 minutes time. Hey, did you see our friend Anita Marks? And by friend, it's because she's been nice enough to come on the show about 10, 12 times over the years. She's off to a 12-3 start picking games.
Good for her.
Yeah. I don't know how she did this past week, but heading into this past weekend, she was 12-3, giving like her 3 best plays every week.
She's morphed into a total gambling. I mean, that's her lane now.
Yeah.
She hasn't done a lot of other stuff and still involved, I think, when the Jets pre and poster was. But her main focus now is sports gambling.
Yeah. So for those of you out there, because listen, we've been honest. We've been terrible. Mark, less terrible than me. I don't know if it's possible to be as terrible as me. And so we're just trying to give you people and places that you could go to maybe get some good advice, or you could just go the opposite way of which way we're going. But now that Mark has farmed his picks out to a winner, okay, I don't even know if you're going to be able to do that anymore. Me, meanwhile, 12, 27, and 2. I mean, if you flip that, how great does that look? Huh?
We wouldn't have Lee Sterling on the show if you were 27, 12, and 2. We wouldn't even bother.
I will say Lee's on a roll. All right. If you're spending a few shekels for Lee's advice, Lee is on a roll. And he went 4-1 on our show last week, but got his 2 big plays right as well. So good for Lee. Good for your 8-year-old daughter, and good for Anita Marks. The rest of us, not so much.
We'll keep pounding right on through, David. We'll just keep pounding right on through.
Hey, you mentioned right before the break the whole Amazon Black Friday game. So what do you do if you're college football? I mean, we've seen baseball now surrender this year. They're not going to play World Series games on a Sunday. And they're just surrendering. College football has surrendered. There's no prominent Power 5 programs that will play a Thursday game anymore. I mean, this century started, Thursday night college football was a big deal. And even when the NFL started playing games on Thursday night, we were far more interested in the college games that were being played on Thursday night because they were still really good matchups.
For instance, this year on Black Friday, just the games that would be going up against it. Nebraska and Iowa. It's a big deal in that part of the world.
It is.
Florida and Florida State, oh, by the way, have been moved to Friday. Next year, it will be Saturday.
Yeah, the Gators are not happy, but since the game's in Tallahassee, when ABC, ESPN said, hey, we got an opening Friday night, would you guys mind playing? They said, yeah, that'd be great. And the Gators went, wait, what? And then Noel said, yeah, you guys don't get a vote this year.
Baylor and Texas, NC and NC State. So there's not really Arizona and Arizona State. To your point, David, college has backed off Thursday. They backed off Friday largely with that weekend, and they are a Saturday only with all of their rivalry games. The Egg Bowl is the only game on Thursday. For years, I thought we'd get Georgia Tech on Thanksgiving as well, didn't we?
It's funny. I always thought it was the noon Saturday game. But so there's not an SEC game on Black Friday? There's not an Arkansas game of some kind?
Tennessee and no. Hang on here. On the Friday, Arkansas and Missouri.
There you go.
It's hard for me to look at that and see it as an SEC game, David.
When you see Missouri, do you still think Big 12 or do you think Big 10 because that's where they should be and that's where they want to be?
I damn near look at Missouri like an independent when I see them, David. They just don't belong in the SEC. And I know you say they belong in the Big 10, but I'm a Big 10 alum. They don't belong there either. Smart move for them. They made a lot of money off this deal. I don't know if they'll ever be relevant in anything again. But I have trouble placing Missouri anywhere.
Back to the Florida State. 15 or so years ago, that was the big game Thanksgiving weekend. And obviously, Florida State's program took a drop, but then it got really good right around the same time that Florida's program was on the downside. But also what happened was a generation of a lot of terrific Iron Bowls. And with Alabama's return to prominence, that became the game that CBS started showing Thanksgiving weekend. And the Florida State game, which the nation watched for 15, 20 years, that got, cable fitted in where you can. To have a prominent date and time, how would Gators and Noles fans feel? Like, I think the game this Friday night this year is awesome. I think you own it. You'll get the nation to some degree to watch you. And they're not anymore. So I think it's, I'm not going to say brilliant, but I think it's a good thing.
I think it's a negative that the Gators are thinking of this as a negative right now, David, and I am with you. I think this could be turned into a big positive. I think owning that night would be a big deal.
Now, and in fact, when I saw it, I thought to myself, well, could you move it up? Could you move it up to 3:30, 4 o'clock type deal and play it then? And I think, Mark, the reason that the Gators are most upset is because just the travel and now you're forcing us to stay over and, or it's going to be a really long day because we're not going to want to stay over because the hotels are too much money. And so now we're all going to be driving home between midnight and 3 a.m. And so this is a real pain in the blankety blank. But I think it's a chance, Mark, what was it, a handful of years ago? When UCF, had those 2 years where they were back-to-back undefeated regular seasons, and they played a tremendous game against South Florida. I think it was in Orlando, and the game did really well. It was
good
on
game, high-scoring game, and it rated.
Yes, 3 o'clock on Black Friday. And it was on ABC, and the game did great. And we got the numbers, and we're like, on that Monday after the holiday weekend, we were like, man, when is the last time that UCF and South Florida have had 5 million people watch them play a game? So just a thought, to own a day and a time, the Egg Bowl was given that option. They decided they'd rather play at Thanksgiving night. Oh, okay. And now, of course, they're going up against the NFL. These two schools, Texas and Texas A&M, used to play.
Right. Texas is playing Baylor now.
Yeah, it feels like.
Doesn't do the same thing for you, does it?
No, A&M's playing LSU. I will say they have grown to start disliking each other.
Well, they battle in Houston for recruits.
Right.
And there's a lot of LSU folks because of Katrina that ended up in Houston. So it is a spot where you have both fan bases.
And they played like a 6 overtime game a few years back, and a bunch of calls went against LSU, and so LSU's kind of hated them ever since. So at least there's some angst to the game.
Doesn't take much for LSU fans to get some angst from someone.
If I was A&M, I'd say, hey, at least we played the game at night for you. But I'm just wondering, Florida State fans, how would you feel if they moved that game to Black Friday? And for the Gator fans who hate the fact it's at night, I'll grant you that. You know what? Let's just move it to the afternoon. I mean, Mark, if you're Florida and Florida State and you call up ABC, you say to Disney, we don't want the 4-letter network treatment. You give us 3:30 every Black Friday. We'll play. We'll do it. What do you say?
I'd be all for it. I don't know, question for Bud Elliott later is, I don't know, that's a big recruiting weekend for these schools. I don't know if Friday hurts versus Saturday having that game. I would think that would bother some coaches, but that would be my only negative. Other than that, I'm all for it.
And you know where I come from. They played the Iron Bowl in 2009 and 2010 on Black Friday. It was just a 2-year agreement, for 2009 at Auburn, 2010 at Alabama. By the way, road team won both games, and both games came down to very late with the team that was trailing scoring to win. The 2010 game at Tuscaloosa was the comeback. Auburn down 24-0, came back to win 28-27. The games did tremendous numbers. Normally the game did 2-3 million more viewers than it normally would. But both schools said our fans hated it. We can't agree to do it again or we'll all lose our jobs. And so that's why I ask amongst Florida and Florida State fans, if the network came to you and said, we'll give you the slot, would you do it?
I would. I don't think they would.
I think Florida State would. I do. I think the Noles would. Mark, if you're an ACC school, you're fighting for good slots.
And you're fighting for viewers. What is it? Out of all the games that have had 5 million viewers this year, Clemson's the only one that's not a Big Ten or an SEC team that jumps on that list.
So, Napier's all about recruiting. He's all about eyeballs, knows how the game is played. Yeah, it's 1 day shorter to prepare and all that, but just a thought.
And the exposure to me would far outweigh the negatives that you'd get from alum. Because you would get negative, but you'd get 5 million people watching the game.
And come on, think positively. Get an extra day to prepare for the conference title game the next week.
That's rich. Miller and Moulton. Bud Elliott in 25 minutes right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Achoo.
Oh,
Gesundheit.
bless you.
Excuse me. I think, Adam, because when it started, it wasn't a rivalry. Florida beat them down for so long. That would be my only guess as why they're not playing for something. SEC doesn't, other than the Egg Bowl, does the SEC, Iron Bowl and the Egg Bowl, is there other SEC games that play for a trophy?
I think Arkansas LSU does. They used to have something. I thought it was Arkansas LSU that had a trophy.
I agree, Arch. David may not agree.
I love the Axe. I got to be honest. The Minnesota, Wisconsin playing for Paul Bunyan's Axe. I do like that.
I like that, Adam. Busch Light would be good. The Busch Light Bowl for Florida State, that works. The Natty Light Bowl equally as good.
That's not bad. Floyd, Minnesota, Iowa. I actually like the Little Brown Jug, but since they don't play every year, in fact, now they hardly ever play, I don't think you can have it anymore. Sorry. Oh,
We need a poll question.
we do. Did you see?
15 seconds.
I don't know.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes after the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Bud Elliott will join us for his weekly appearance coming up in a little more than 15 minutes time. No Dr. Roto tomorrow. Just want to let everybody know now. No Dr. Roto tomorrow. Unfortunately, his dad died. So we send our condolences to the good doctor and his family. And so no Dr. Roto segment tomorrow. Don't worry, though. Don't worry. We'll entertain and inform. We'll get someone else. Don't you worry.
Text line is open at 21,000. If you've never texted the show before, FSN radio is the keyword. Do that once and you are behind the door. Like this texter who says, absolutely not, hell no, to the Florida State game being played on Friday. A quick hell no came in.
Okay. I'm guessing that person's a Gator fan. For whatever reason, Gator fans are much angrier about the game this year being played on the Friday night after Thanksgiving than Noles fans are. So that's an assumption on my part. If I'm wrong, well, you know what they say when you assume. But just throwing it out there with the news that, we're going to have Black Friday NFL now. I mean, they're taking over the world, ladies and gentlemen. They took Christmas away from the NBA, and now they're taking Black Friday away. Hell, you almost wonder, are they taking Black Friday away from shopping?
Well, what a coup for Amazon to have Black Friday and to be running specials every commercial break during the game. I actually think this is as brilliant of a marketing move as there is. This seems to make so much sense to me.
Well, they begged, I will say. In NFL circles, the word is they begged. And then they said, listen, we are giving you like $1.1 billion a year, or it's like $70 million for every Thursday night game. $70 million for these games. I mean, Raj, that's even more than you make in a year.
Right, and if you break it down by per point or per scoring play, I mean, it gets really ugly really quickly.
I mean, we're 15 games. We don't know if we're going to get 70 touchdowns in these 15 games.
So whatever they did, beg, plead, borrow, steal,
Yes.
I think it's a great move for Amazon. Because the other side of it is there'll be 3 games promoting Amazon game on Friday, all day Thursday.
That is true. And Thanksgiving, the 4:00 Thanksgiving game, the Cowboys, is one of the 3 highest rated regular season NFL games every year. And if it's a really good game, and if it happens to be against a compelling opponent, like I think it was a couple years ago when they played, it was last year actually, when they played the Raiders. That was the highest rated game of the regular season, and it wasn't close. I mean, it was a staggering number. It was like a divisional round playoff number. It was so many people watching.
What is a divisional round playoff number, and how close was Bills and Chiefs to getting that with 25 million people watching that game on Sunday?
Believe it or not, that's a good number. All right, it's a very good number, but that's not an obnoxious number at all. Like, I know Fox's 425 window for the year, it usually averages 20 to 22 million. So that was a good number, maybe even a very good number. But that was not like the Raiders-Cowboys game last year on Thanksgiving, I think did like 38 million.
And Alabama, Tennessee, you sent that over yesterday, did over 11 million viewers.
11.6, peaked at 17. 17 for a regular season college game. That's a big number.
Yeah, well, Alabama was losing.
We're tied.
We won't see anything close to that number unless Michigan, Ohio State's compelling.
Well, that's the one. I mean, Alabama, Texas did 10 and change.
I got you.
So, and now this one did 11-6. And, Ohio State's the number one draw in the sport. Bama's 2. So, I mean, come on, Mark. If they're both, is that the last regular season game? I think it is. I mean, if they're both 11-0.
Oh, I know. But it has to be a game. One team gets out in front of the other, then it doesn't happen. And this was a perfect storm. It was a great game. Tennessee got out to an early lead. All of those things help a number.
No doubt. No doubt. With a word, that is the one good thing that Twitter does. Okay, I do think Twitter can help your rating. Because when all of a sudden the word gets out there, holy blank, they're losing. That helps.
So 11.6 watching Alabama and Tennessee. And for the rest of you, what the hell were you doing?
And by the way, 2 highest rated games. Now, granted, they both involved Alabama. But one at noon, one at 3:30. I've contended for years, you're better off showing college football during the daytime.
I agree with you 1,000%, David.
Because Saturday Night Mark is still make it happen night.
You're darn right. I mean, people do have lives. And
right.
And by the way, that 8:00 game doesn't finish until midnight. I don't care what you say. That's not conducive to maximizing viewership.
Nor to make it happen night.
Got that right.
It's time for the clutch play of the day, guys.
Set it up today, Felipe.
All right.
Explain. Set up the play of the day.
All right. It comes from San Diego, where Kyle Schwarber hit an absolute bomb. And I mean a 488-foot bomb.
Kicks and deals. Swung on and hit. Wow. Deep to right field. Titanic shot into the second deck. Wow. The Phillies take a 2-0 lead. Kyle Schwarber signals to the bullpen as he gets to second base. That was as long a home run as you're going to see here at Petco Park.
How does Rob Thompson do this? We've said
488 feet.
Did you see the velocity? I did not see that.
I didn't. It was over 100 though, Larry.
Yeah.
It's our clutch play of the day.
That's Clutch Vodka, Clutch with a K. Go to clutchspirits.com. Hashtag all your drinks, Clutch Spirits on Instagram or wherever you're doing that stuff, wherever you're posting pictures. I go clutch and squirt on the weekends, David.
Okay. Sounds delicious.
It's quite lovely. If they had diet squirt around there, it'd be even better.
Was that Tom McCarthy with the call?
I believe so. That's the Phillies local guy.
Well, yeah, because he does television, but I wondered if for the playoffs, if he's doing radio, because that's who it sounded like to me.
Well, typically once teams are in the playoffs, don't they get the TV guys on the radio broadcast?
No. Think about how sensitive that is.
No, you don't tell the radio guy who's done 162 games, hey, by the way, go sit down. Usually it's the radio guy.
I've seen it in the NBA. That's why I ask.
Yeah, no, it's a very sensitive subject. It's why the longtime voice of the Cubs left the Cubs to go to the White Sox, because he was the TV guy for the Cubs, and he wants to do a World Series. And, I mean, it is awful to be the TV baseball guy, and then the regular season ends and you're done. But if you're the radio guy, you get to do all the games. And so he left the Cubs television booth for the White Sox radio booth because he wants to do playoff games and hopefully a World Series one day.
South Side.
And wasn't that the story? Callis didn't do the Phillies World Series because they were doing national radio at that time, and the radio guys didn't get to do the games. And the great legendary broadcaster Harry Callis did not get to do the Phillies winning the World Series
in 80, but he did get to do it. Thankfully, he lived long enough to do it in 08.
Miller and Moulton. Bud Elliott is next right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
All right, I hesitate because you may have done this yesterday and, I'll look foolish, but, well, what else is new? Did you do the story about the snake on a plane?
No.
Did you see it?
In the Post, I did. I've not read it.
We found our poll question, by the way, I think.
What do you got?
Well, it's going off on the Twitch chat right now, but best sports month. December, October,
March.
That's a good one. December, October, or March. Or January.
Of course, the Super Bowl in Daytona is in February.
Or do we just keep it with 3? December, October, or March?
Well, November, you got, hell, even the World Series this year is the first week of November.
True. I think it's October. Sorry, continue.
So, Mark, apparently there was a flight from Tampa to Newark, and that plane, by the way, was then going to go from Newark to Fort Myers.
Oh.
And apparently, near the very end of the flight, in the business section, so flight lands and everybody gets up, and there's a snake on the plane, and people start freaking out. And so it caused the delay on the flight from Newark to Fort Myers because, well, they were checking the plane to see if there were more. So best sports month.
I got October. I mean, the sports equinox.
What are our choices?
Well, that's a. I don't think we should do March. There's no baseball. There's no football.
There's Masters March Madness.
Well, Masters is
No,
April.
Masters is April.
Yeah, Masters is April.
So
really just March Madness for March. Okay, so I think December and October are good
Why
starts.
December?
Well, you know, you got the
why, explain to me why December.
So you got the end of the NFL season.
Well, yeah, not December.
Bowl games.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
No one cares about bowl games anymore.
It's either January or February for football.
How about October or January?
October or January?
That would be 2. And then do you want to do April? Start of baseball, Final Four, Masters, NBA, NHL playoffs.
Right.
The only thing it doesn't have football.
National championship game for basketball.
That's what he said.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
And the draft is in April.
Okay. I like that.
October, January, April.
There you
October,
go.
January, April.
Done.
Best sports month. Then we can have people tell us, how bad the choices are. Did you send Bud the link?
Shit. Yeah, he's right here.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah, I was going to say, it really can't be March.
October, January, April. Where's your vote? And are we missing a month?
I don't think you're missing a month. It's not January.
Okay.
Like, I don't think. I mean, I don't really care about college basketball in January.
Well, but January's got the New Year's Day bowl games and the college football national championship and basically the guts of the NFL playoffs. So that's why we threw January up there.
Is the Super Bowl in February?
It is.
It is. It's one game.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to. I kind of like April, man, but I mean, you're getting baseball, you're getting.
Oh, we're coming back. We're coming back. Sorry.
You get spring football, which is October's probably the answer.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour on a Wednesday in the 7 o'clock hour. That means Bud Elliott of CBS Sports HQ, 24/7 Sports. He's got 2 tremendous podcasts. He's got the Cover 3 podcast. He's got Nolecast. Half the stuff I just mentioned has been nominated and won awards. Follow him on Twitter, Bud Elliott, the number 3, Bud Elliott 3, 2 L's, 2 T's. How you doing?
Guys, I'm doing well. We got the football weather up here in Orlando. Stepped outside this morning. It was 52. Told the wife. She came outside. She's like, "Oh, it is cold." Yeah, it's boots weather up here. Are you guys catching a little cool down there?
David's in Jacksonville now, so he's even colder than you are. And yet,
right.
I did not issue a sock advisory this morning. I don't think it's necessary yet, but it's close, Bud. It is very close to a sock advisory.
Bud, here's how cold it is. I'm wearing pants indoors. That doesn't usually happen.
Oh man, so you guys know I grew up in Fort Myers. The first time I ever lived somewhere in a cold climate, I was in law school at Alabama, and I'd never had ice on my windshield, and I didn't have a scraper or whatever. So I was using a credit card to try to scrape all this stuff off.
That a
so I
boy.
could get to class on time. Yeah, man, I don't like. I'm built for it, but I'm not. But I don't handle cold weather very well.
I moved away on purpose, Bud. There was a reason that I got the hell out of Michigan as soon as I graduated college, never to return to somewhere where there was cold weather. Hey, Bud, it was obviously a tremendous weekend of college football. I am just curious right now. We had our poll question on Monday. Who would you rank number 1? I can make an argument for Tennessee to be number 1. I think you can make an argument for Clemson. If we are just ranking the teams based on what happens this year thus far, what's your top 5 look like right now?
So just purely based on what has happened so far, you probably, like, if you're just doing pure resume, you probably need to go Tennessee, right? They have the best win, I think, over Alabama. Although you can argue that by margin, Michigan might have the best win by the amount that they spanked Penn State, right? And Bama, the loss was closer. Ohio State, just because of the dominance, probably. And to me, the eye test says that their defense is better.
No, I hate the eye test.
I know.
Hate it.
I know, but otherwise it's the scoreboard test, right? I mean, they're spanking everybody, and their schedule strength is okay. It's not tremendous. Georgia still has been pretty dominant. The win over Oregon looks better every week, so I would have them there. And then I guess Michigan, right? Like Michigan's schedule was terrible entering this week, but they did crush Penn State.
And that was our poll question. We left Clemson out. All right. We just put the two Big Ten and two SEC teams because, of course, we're trying to create as much angst as possible, even though you could argue that maybe their resume, because they have, 3 wins over ranked teams when they played them, and I don't think anybody else has that. First of all, just your thoughts on Tennessee got it done. They didn't play them close. I mean, and let's face it, if we had said, we all thought we were going to get 75% Bryce Young. We got Heisman Trophy winner Bryce Young.
Yeah.
And they still won. And they gave him a touchdown. I mean, literally just put the ball on the ground and said, here's 7 points. And they won.
This is why we wanted to see Nick Saban face that Art Briles team from Baylor at some point, because it was the amazing Nick Saban defense, and nobody in the SEC was running the Briles system. And Heupel is just running straight Briles stuff right now. And honestly, he has been incorporating more and more of this ever since he was at Missouri, and he hired JJ, who as his tight ends coach, who was an analyst for Briles there at Baylor. Now they're running just straight Baylor. Like, that's what you're getting. It is just receivers as wide as you can possibly be on the field. They run those stack releases. So basically the secondary guy in the release is getting a running head start and just hitting that safety at full speed. And they call it slot choice, right? Basically, it's just based on the alignment, and the way you defend it is really tricky. Bama tried to play it a lot of single high to take away those screens, because they'll just say, hey, we're going to tempo. We're going to throw these screens over and over and over again until you align to stop it. But if you want to play too high and you want to take away the explosive plays, because of how wide those receivers are, you have to walk out your overhang defender. So whether that's your backer or your kind of stand-up end, you got to walk them out to an alignment that really screws with your run fits. I mean, I've said for a while, this is kind of a cheat code offense to run in college football, especially if you have some players. And they have some nice players on the outside. And Hooker's 25 years old for Tennessee. And literally, I mean, he's a COVID guy and a redshirt guy, and was old coming in. So this is just really difficult to stop. It's not impossible to stop. There are ways to play it. Bama just has not had great answers for it the last 2 years.
I know it's down the road, but what did Georgia learn from what Alabama didn't do defending that? Because, I mean, that's the next question, because Georgia at times, their defense against Kent State didn't look very good. Missouri scored some points on them. I know they've gotten better the last couple of weeks, but to me, what was Kirby learning on Saturday when he has to play this offense in a few weeks?
So I wonder if Georgia looks at that and says, okay, our pass rush is not as good as Alabama's, and it's not. That's actually kind of a sneaky weakness. We're doing our trade deadline episode on Cover 3 today at 11 Eastern, and I'm putting together a trade for Georgia, and I'll sneak peek it here. Like, they're getting a pass rusher because they need one right now. Nolan Smith's their best pass rusher, and he's just okay. I wonder if they don't try to play more red zone roulette with Tennessee, let them move the ball between the 20s, and then try to force them into more field goals. Tennessee was definitely better in the red zone than I anticipated they would be, even though I bet the over in this. But still, I think there's some chance that if you're a big physical team inside the red zone, you may be able to give Tennessee a little more problems than Alabama did. And I think, honestly, Tennessee's defense is kind of vulnerable. And Bama's offensive line allowed 10 pressures on Bryce Young. Now, it's over a lot of plays, but still, that's a lot. I think Georgia, offensive line-wise, I think Georgia's a lot better than Alabama is this year. And so they may be able to push them around and control tempo a little better than the Tide did. It's also in Athens, which, I mean, Bama had, 17 penalties, the most ever by a Nick Saban team. I do think that the atmosphere there in Knoxville contributed to that.
And there were a handful of times in which the noise and everything, even Bryce Young and that experienced Alabama team, they had false starts, they had delay of games, and 102,000 will do that. And I don't want to get too nooks and crannies here, but I'm just going to throw this out there. I don't know how many safeties you can have on the field against Tennessee. I'm wondering if the way to combat that is to, quite frankly, just have 4 corners and 1 safety, because you need to have faster guys to run with their receivers. I mean, they exploited Alabama safeties. Their receivers with the running start just ran right by them. And I'm wondering if a way to help defend it is to just get your 4 fastest guys on the field.
Yeah, if you're going to try to actually stop it as opposed to just limit it, I agree with you for sure. The question for Georgia and the question for Kentucky is going to be, do you want to try to stop this, or do you want to just limit it and win in the red zone? Like Kentucky, I know what they're going to do. We saw it last year, and they actually got torched, but they could play it better than they did last year. They're going to try to limit it. We'll see if Georgia actually tries to stop it.
We thought Michigan and Penn State would be a little more of a slugfest. I was unbelievably impressed with Michigan at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Bud, what was your takeaway from that game?
Same. I mean, I thought Michigan was the more physical team on both sides of the ball. I hate it for Penn State. Their starting guard, one of their best players, got hurt in warmups and couldn't go. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Kind of a bad omen. But I thought Michigan was more physical. I also thought Michigan did a great job with some of their motions and their formations in setting up favorable blocking angles for their guys. And you don't just blow holes open like that with blocking angles, and you don't just do it with physicality. It's a combination of the two. And I thought they really did a great job scheming up run lanes for their guys. And Blake Corum is like not the fastest guy in the world, but he has great vision, really good patience, and then he hits the hole hard when it presents itself, which it's hard to miss some of those holes that they created. You know, defensively, Iabi Anoma was a 5-star kid that Bama signed, didn't work out in Tuscaloosa. Michigan took a flyer on him, and now they have a guy who's playing like a 5-star NFL pass rusher there. And the true freshman kid that they got at nose guard is just like a freakazoid. So they've reloaded on that D-line better than I think people thought they would after they lost those 2 guys at the draft.
Bud Elliott, CBS Sports HQ, 24/7 Sports, the Cover 3 podcast, and Nolecast. And he joins us once again. You can follow him on Twitter at Bud Elliott 3, 2 L's, 2 T's, Bud Elliott 3. All right. Tennessee earned their respect. You know, they vaulted into the top 5. Ole Miss is undefeated at 7. TCU's undefeated at 8. UCLA's undefeated at 9. Any of those 3 have some Tennessee in them?
UCLA might. UCLA, we just talked about those transfer pass rushers. There's a kid named Latu for UCLA who's going to be like a very high draft pick, I think. His brother was a stud pass rusher for Washington, and Washington signed this kid, and they wouldn't clear him medically. Well, UCLA got him cleared, and Utah found out, and so did Washington, that nobody's really been able to block him so far in the Pac-12. And you also have DTR now, who is like 24 years old and seems to understand Chip Kelly's system. Now, they wanted to replace him all offseason. They had Dylan Gabriel on campus ready to enroll, if you guys recall, and then he went to Oklahoma with Levy. But UCLA could have some of that in them. Ole Miss defense kind of scares me now slightly, guys. Like, their offense is not improving much, but their defense seems to be regressing a little bit. So that's kind of scary.
And Mark, what's interesting, UCLA, 6-point dog this week. Ole Miss, an underdog in Baton Rouge, and TCU, only a 3.5-point home favorite against Kansas State. So Vegas ain't buying any of these 3 acts.
Mm-hmm.
But they're buying Alabama in the rebound game. Mississippi State's a 21-point dog. Is that just a case of it's being in Alabama? I mean, I thought the way that Mississippi State can throw it around, they're always a live play. That's a pretty big number.
I think they got handled by Kentucky this weekend, which is concerning. I did take some Mississippi State 22 when it opened. I made the number 20, so like it's just kind of a play. Like where do I think the number will land? I wouldn't take it at 21. Most likely, if you're in a pick 'em pool, I'll probably take, if there's like 21.5 or 21, I'd probably take Mississippi State just on the off chance Bama's defense has a letdown again.
You remember in 2002, Pete Carroll, he had a so-so first year. I think they went 6-7.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2002, they had a couple early losses, and then they ran the table and beat Iowa's best team in 40 years badly in a bowl game, finished like 3 or 4 in the country. And then we saw what happened the next 3 years. They played 4 or won the national championship. Texas had the rough year last year, 2 early losses this year. But Bud, is Texas about to run the damn table in the Big 12 and basically announce, hello?
Yeah. Guys, so I have a 28-1 ticket on TCU to win the Big 12, which I'm very happy about. But If they face Texas, I'm hedging out of that thing. Because I do think Texas is the best team in the Big 12. And we said it all offseason, like if they put it all together, but it's a huge if. They appear that they have put it together. They have 2 true freshmen playing on the offensive line, and both these kids are playing like beasts. So that's always great when you hit on true freshman offensive linemen who are bullying people. The Banks kid at left tackle he's a freak. Defensively, they seem to have fixed almost everything. And honestly, like Texas Tech had to go 5 of 5 on 4th down, I think, just to beat them. And I thought Texas was a better team in that game. Texas Tech just got some good luck. And then they lost Ewers against Bama, right? If Ewers stays healthy, they're probably undefeated right now in the top 4.
You know, Clemson's had a pretty good run here of some difficult games, with the exception of that BC game. Florida State played them tough. North Carolina State played them tough. Great game against Wake Forest. The Syracuse team plays pretty good defense. They're a huge surprise. Do they have anything for Clemson on Saturday?
I don't know that they can block Clemson. Syracuse has only played one team with a good D-line so far, and that was NC State. And ultimately, like that, their offense is just nothing without Leary. It really wasn't great with Leary. Clemson's going to go in their Clemson cocoon here, I think, where it's like, okay, next couple games, fairly easy. We'll work on some improvements internally. We're getting some guys back healthy, and all of a sudden, come playoff time, oh, look at us. Hey, we're much better. I think they have a fairly good shot of going undefeated now.
Very quickly, Florida State this year, we were talking about it earlier. It's on Black Friday. We think they should actually move the game to Black Friday to get the national prominence that the game used to have. If you were Florida State, would you be in favor of that?
I would say no, because like if you do it Black Friday at noon, it really makes travel tough because the day before is Thanksgiving. Right?
Okay, what about 3:34?
If you 4 o'clock, you could maybe make it work because then people can drive to it, especially if you go like Black Friday night game. If you want to put that in the slot, they usually have the Egg Bowl. I think that'd be okay.
Is that a big recruiting day, Bud?
It used to be bigger because of when signing day was. Nowadays, most of these schools want to have most of their prospects before that last weekend.
10 seconds. Give us a play.
I like Troy getting 3 or better at South Al. I think Troy is the best team in the Sun Belt.
Man, you are riding them all year.
Hey, man, it's been pretty good. Troy's got some NFL guys on defensive line and linebacker. This Carlton Marshall kid had 19 tackles the other day. There's just some dudes. It's like playing your dad in pool basketball when you're a kid. It's like it's not fair. It's not fair to have those dudes in the Sun Belt.
He's Bud Elliott, CBS Sports HQ, 24/7 Sports, the Cover 3 podcast, no cast. He joins us every week at this time. Follow him on Twitter, Bud Elliott 3, 2 L's, 2 T's, Bud Elliott 3. Bud, thanks.
All right, guys, be well.
Miller and Moulton. We will talk some Dolphins on the other side. Bud, thanks as always. Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com, flgolfcarts.com. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, Felipe?
He just left the room.
Okay. Even though his name is spelled Alain, I believe he pronounces it Alain.
Okay.
He's French Canadian, but
that would.
But
not Poupart. It's Poupart, huh?
It's Poupart. But I think oops, first time Sports Illustrated Fan Nation trying to branch out a little more. DC, I wonder if, how hot's it going to be the rest of the year, if you know what I mean.
What do you want to check the first name?
Yeah, Felipe, can you call him now? I believe you pronounce his name Alain Poupart. It doesn't spell that way, but I think that's how you pronounce it.
Right. I thought it was Alain, but Alan. Okay.
We'll just check with
call him now. That's why I want you to call now
and ask him.
And if it's Alan, give a thumbs up to Mark. He'll give a thumbs up to me.
Gotcha.
And if it's Alain, give him a thumbs down. Mark will give me a thumbs down. Mongo, we learned about him because we were all in the same town. And we just discovered him and his stuff. And we didn't even know he was from Fort Myers at the time. He knew about us before we knew about him. And I think it's part of why he's loyal to us. Second thing is he just likes us. So we lucked out.
It's this amazing thing of listening to your guests and letting them tell you what the next question is, as opposed to writing the questions down. And it's amazing in this business how many questions are written down.
Well, and he has actually said that to us. He goes, you're one of the very few interviews that I do in which I get the sense you guys actually are interested in what I have to say.
It's Allen.
Allen.
Yep, I thought so.
Okay, coming back. 5 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, it's the 8 o'clock hour of Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. And it's a pleasure to welcome for the first time Alain Poupart, who covers the Dolphins and is publisher of All Dolphins. That's the Sports Illustrated Fan Nation Network. You can follow Alain's work on Twitter at Poupart, Poupart, Poupart NFL, Poupart NFL. Alain, it's David and Mark. Thanks for your time. How are you?
Good. How you guys doing?
Well, we are doing well. You put out a lot of Dolphins material. Obviously, we have a lot of Dolphins fans who listen. How concerned should the Dolphins be after losing 3 in a row, or can we just attribute it all to they didn't have their quarterback?
Yeah, no, it's not just they didn't have their quarterback. They haven't had a quarterback start and finish a game since they beat the Bills in week 3. They lost their left tackle to Ron Armstead for the past full game and then 3/4 of the game, and he is easily their most important offensive lineman. Without him, the pass protection has issues. And the other factor that needs to be considered is they had a chance to go ahead in the fourth quarter in each of those 3 losses against the Bengals, the Jets, and the Vikings. And unlike the first couple of weeks where they were making the plays to get those wins, well, they didn't make them against those last 3 teams, and they wound up losing. So having Tua back in the lineup obviously is going to make a difference, without question. But it's not quite as simple as saying, well, Tua's back to win, Tua's out to lose. Truth is, they easily could be 5-1 right now. So, and then they were entering a stretch of their schedule that's soft compared to the first 6 games and compared to the final 5. So it's time for them to get it cranking and get the ship right again. And I think they will do that if injuries don't spiral out of control.
Well, what is the status? What are we hearing about Armstead? Do we think he'll be back this week? Because as you mentioned, it's the key part of their pass protection.
Yeah, without question, it's the key part. Well, head coach Mike McDaniel said after the game against the Vikings on Sunday that he was very close to playing. Now he's dealing with a toe injury he's had since the opener against New England. Hasn't practiced since, but he was able to start the next 3 games and had to leave early against the Jets. Sat out the game against the Vikings. The hope is that extra week of rest and not playing is going to do him good and get him back in the lineup. And that seems to be kind of the way it's trending, although we obviously won't know probably until Sunday, because based on what we've seen so far, it's entirely possible that he won't practice again all week.
Alain Poupart, publisher of All Dolphins. It's the Sports Illustrated Fan Nation Network. You can follow him and his work on Twitter at Poupart, Poupart NFL, Poupart NFL. Hey, the defense, though, I mean, it's a loss. I understand it, but holding the Vikings to around 250 total yards, forcing 10 punts. I mean, that's the defense that we're used to seeing, right?
Yeah, no question. The one thing that was missing, though, is the takeaways. And that's been a problem. The Dolphins have 1 interception in the entire season, and that came on the very first drive against New England. They have 3 fumble recoveries, but not one since that week 3 game against the Bills. So that's the one thing they haven't done that's really served them so well the last couple of years, is forcing those turnovers. But as you mentioned, they did force, I think it was like at the start of the game, it was 4 straight 3 and out that they forced against the Vikings, gave themselves a chance to take an early lead. So it was a better effort than, let's say, maybe we saw against the Jets. But what's been missing, and the other thing that needs to be mentioned is the pass rush came to life a little bit against Minnesota. It had been pretty dormant before that. But for the Dolphin defense to reach the level that it reached at its peak in 2020 and 2021, the turnovers have to come, and they just haven't been there so far.
McDaniel wants to run the ball. They really have had not a lot of luck other than one game really being effective running the ball. Can that change this week? Because Pittsburgh's defense is pretty solid.
Yeah, here's the thing, though, and I fully get that's McDaniel's reputation, and that's what he'll say. And most coaches will tell you if they can run the ball, they love to run the ball. But if we're looking at this offense objectively, you do two playmakers are Tyreek Hill and Jalen Wall. If you have a run-focused offense with those two guys in your lineup, to me, something's wrong. So I get the idea of wanting to run the ball because obviously it minimizes the risk of mistakes, makes it easier for the offensive linemen to do the run block than to pass block. But having said that, for anybody to think the Dolphins would become like obsessed with the running game, to me, that never made any sense again because you're not playing to your strength. And Mike McDaniel was smart enough to realize the guys who are going to move the ball in offense are Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And they didn't give up all the draft capital they gave up for Tyreek Hill, plus the huge contract they gave him to watch him block downfield, 85% of the time. So, having said all that, there was an emergence for Raheem Mostert, a really nice game against the Jets in Week 5. The running game didn't do anything against the Vikings in Week 6. So the focus to me still absolutely will be on the passing game. What you want to do is, as best as possible, is get some success in the running game to help the play action pass.
Are they still seemingly going to trade Gesicki? Because, he's clearly is not McDaniel's kind of tight end. He's in the final year of a contract. They've had to franchise him. I mean, listen, there's a bunch of teams that would want him. Do you think in 2 weeks he's still going to be on the roster?
I think it's more likely than not, simply because they're not just going to trade him for the sake of trading him. If they've carried him, as far as they have, and they're going to get a compensatory pick when he does depart as a free agent, which would be the expectation if he's not traded. So it's not like a team's going to just call the Dolphins and say, we know you don't like the sticky, doesn't fit your style, we'll throw you a 7th round pick for him. Well, that's not going to get it done. So if there's a team out there that's badly in need of a tight end that's got like playoff or championship aspirations, that looks like Gesicki is maybe the missing piece and comes calling and offers a reasonable, deal to the Dolphins, yeah, absolutely they would listen, and I think they would trade him in a heartbeat. But the compensation has to be right. They're not giving them away just for the sake of doing that.
Do you think there's a move that they will make, or do you think there's a move that they should be making with the trade deadline approaching?
Yeah, here's the thing, and the fans keep talking about, well, let's trade for that guy, let's trade for that guy, let's trade for that guy, and that's all great. But I think if you follow in the NFL long enough, in-season trades are not exactly common. That's number one. Number two, it takes two to tango, and you have to find a team that's willing to give up an asset. If it's going to be a guy who's going to be good enough to make a difference on your team, well, why wasn't he making a difference for their team, and why would they want to give him up? So it sounds great and all that, and I hear like Caroline, okay, well, let's go after Brian Burns or Christian McCaffrey or Taylor Moulton. That's like, okay, well, why would Carolina trade Brian Burns, for example? He's a good young player. He's an asset for the new coach they're going to hire. Why would they trade him? Christian McCaffrey, yeah, I mean, is he that much of a massive upgrade of a Raheem Mostert that you would give a first-round pick or whatever it would take? I don't think so. And then you look at Moulton, you can't trade for him because he just signed a huge contract in 2021, and it's a cap disaster for the Panthers to trade him. So you have to look at all the angles, and the reality is, yeah, you'd love to see the Dolphins go out and trade for like an established veteran offensive lineman, an established veteran cornerback, but it's just not that easy to pull off. And it wouldn't surprise me in the least if 2 weeks from now, at the trade deadline, the day after it's passed, that they haven't done anything.
Alain Poupart, Sports Illustrated. All right, follow him on Twitter. Alain, this is really a must win, isn't it? I mean, I know they just beat the Bucs, but the Steelers are a 2-4 team. They've lost 3 in a row. I mean, it seems as if all the good feelings that were drummed up in August and September, if they don't win Sunday, this this goes badly, doesn't it?
It might. I hesitate to talk about left wins in October when the AFC is so insanely tight and where you have really two clear elite teams in Buffalo and KC and then a bunch of pretenders, contenders, wannabes, whatever you want to call them. So, yeah, in terms of like maybe stopping a slide, it's a big game. And especially if Tua is back, if Armstead is back, if Austin Jackson returns from IR, you'd like to see the offense hum a little bit, put up more than 20 points. So I would say it's a very important game. I'd stop a little bit short of calling it much right now.
Alan, thanks for making time for us. We appreciate finally having you on the show, and hopefully we can do this again.
That would be good. Thanks, guys.
Alan Poupart covers the Dolphins for Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation. You can follow him on Twitter, Poupart NFL, Poupart, Poupart NFL. He also covers kind of little side stringer thing, does a little Florida Panthers action on NHL.com. I figure, while you're in South Florida, make a few extra bucks.
And I understand his point about the running game versus the passing game with who the weapons are. But the fact of the matter is that they only attempted 18 runs last week, and they attempted to throw the ball nearly 40 times. The ratio's got to be better than that.
And that's with Skylar Thompson and Teddy Bridgewater as your quarterbacks. You would think you'd have a little better run-pass ratio. And the game was contained. They were trailing, but, it was basically they were down one score most of the day.
And they abandoned it because they couldn't get more than really 3 yards of carry out of anybody. And if you're not going to get any production, they went away from it in the second half. Bridgewater had a really nice fourth quarter with the exception of the one interception. But if Waddle doesn't fumble that, we don't know if the Dolphins have an opportunity to come back and maybe tie that game.
So they're facing the Steelers, who just beat the Bucs. Sunday night, it's a big celebration of the 72 undefeated team, and they're going to wear the 72 undefeated team's uniforms. They're going to look great. Don't you have to ride the Dolphins hard this week?
I believe so. This goes a little bit to your theory. Who's the more desperate team this week? Miami's the more desperate. Pittsburgh's desperate because of their record, no question. But Miami with the 3 losses right now at home with everything going on, they're the more desperate football club.
Speaking of Pittsburgh, and I know we're pressed for time, did you hear the story that came out yesterday? You know why Trubisky got benched? It wasn't performance. Got into a fight at halftime of that game with a receiver. And so that's why Tomlin benched him.
And that's why he announced yesterday he'll go back to Pickett as soon as he can. Miller and Moulton, thank you so much for listening. Seth Everett in 20 minutes right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
No, but he embezzled a few million. Yeah, I'm wondering if he just had us on speaker. And
That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah. He just had us on speaker, and because he was clearly walking around the kitchen, he was doing things, and so
Definitely walked upstairs at one point. With all the money we pay these guests, you're right.
Yep. We should be more demanding. So what's the temperature there?
60.
46 here in Jacksonville.
That's on you.
It ain't on me. It's my turn to take one for the team. let me get this straight. You kept watching Flyers Lightning instead of the Phillies in the LCS? Wow. Gotcha. Although I will say, the Flyers had as many goals as the Phillies had hits.
Coming back.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
.21 past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. The League Championship Series, both of them will be underway once today is done. Yankees win yesterday, sends them to Houston. They'll play tonight on TBS, 7:30 or thereabouts. Little afternoon baseball on the West Coast. It's a 1:30 local start, 4:30 our time, Mark. That playoff baseball on while you're getting ready for dinner and what have you. Phillies are going to go 2-up on the Padres.
I love the early baseball because the fact that my daughter made the picks may have been the start of it, but she likes sports. She plays softball. She plays soccer. She's into gymnastics. But when we're hanging out now, it went from during a football game of, Daddy, which team are we rooting for? To now, she knows what the point spread is and who she's rooting for. But last night, yesterday afternoon, she started having me break down certain things in baseball. Now, why did that happen? Why is he doing that? And I am just in the kitchen with this grin ear to ear going, is anybody else around to hear this? He's asking baseball questions. This is glorious. I will say, though, it did get her. We had soccer practice last night, so I'd left at 6 o'clock for my daughter's practice, ended at around 7. And the fact that we got in the car and she said, the Yankees-Guardians game is still on?
Wow.
Well, honey, it's only been a little over 3 hours.
Yep. Right. Haven't had a run scored since the 4th, but yes. Yes. Don't worry. It'll take another half hour. It's a Yankees game. Wait until they play the Rays or the Red Sox and see how long it takes. But both LCSs underway as of today. Phillies up 1-0. They won 2-0 last night. They held the Padres to one hit, 2 walks, and an error. 4 base runners. That's it. Zach Wheeler and 2 relievers. Phillies. How about that? 87-win Phillies team.
How about Bob Costas being welcome to the Twitterverse? Because Bob hasn't done a lot of games in a long time.
Hadn't done a full playoff round since 2000, 2001, something like that.
Think about a whole new generation who's never had to deal with Bob Costas doing play-by-play. And there are a lot of folks that thought he talked an awful lot during the playoffs.
Yes.
And he got a lot of criticism, which I'm sure has never really happened to him before in his career. It's been all accolades.
Especially doing baseball. I mean, Costas has essentially walked away from the rest of the sports world. This is about the only thing he does anymore. He calls baseball on MLB Network, and he and his agent were able to convince Turner to hire him as the number 2 crew. And so we did this division series. Yep. Oh, yeah. They went after him in New York because he was doing the Yankees. So, of course, Yankee fan was like, shut up already, which is something coming from a Yankee fan. I mean, as somebody from the Northeast, to tell someone else to be quiet, I mean, that's rich.
It is. But I just found it to be interesting, to say the very least, of someone that has only received accolades for his career. He got hit pretty hard. And I would imagine that had to be because these guys all pay attention to that stuff. Don't let anybody fool you and say that they don't. Some of them have thicker skin than others and can deal with it better than others, but they all pay attention to it. We all pay attention to it.
And even if they don't want to pay attention to it, unfortunately, their bosses do. That is readily apparent in network television. Boy, do the suits and the offices, are they on Twitter? Man, oh man, 3 tweets can change everything. Forget the fact that 11 million people are watching. If you get 3 tweets in a row, oh, baby, we got to have a meeting. Oh, okay. So much for thinking for yourself. You got this job because, never mind. Yeah. So, Jamison Talion against Justin Verlander. That would, on paper, seem to be big edge Astros. I'm just saying. I mean, because this is a guy on full rest. The Yankees didn't want to pitch yesterday. Okay, against Justin Verlander, who the Astros would like to pitch every other day if they could. Aaron Nola, Blake Snell in the late afternoon game in San Diego. And we'll see if the Phillies are 6-1, Mark, in the playoffs. 6-1. They're on a little heater here.
Can seemingly do no wrong. And in a game yesterday, without a lot of hits, they had 2 big ones, and that was all that was needed to take care of the Padres in game 1. And their big bats getting the hits done. Schwarber with the bomb, and Harper just hit a ball that went 6 miles in the air and cleared the fence by a couple of feet. But they are pulling this off right now, David.
Seth Everett to join us in a little more than 10 minutes. Since the Phillies and Yankees are both in the LCS, Seth Everett will be covering postseason baseball, which is a shock to Seth Everett. That is for sure. Hey, listen, a couple minutes left in the break. Did you see the story about the plane in Newark?
I did. I caught that this morning.
Oh, man. Anybody see the movie Snakes on a Plane? It was dumb. It was awful. I mean, clearly the prominent actors just took the check, agreeing to do that movie. It was horrendous. But could you imagine a snake on a plane if you don't like snakes? Because this just in, there's nowhere for any of you to go. Well, apparently there was a snake on a plane. Now, fortunately, the plane had just landed in Newark. From Tampa to Newark, plane was then turning around and going to Fort Myers.
Snake needed a ride. I mean, Ian displaced a lot of folks. Who's to say that snake didn't have to get back to family and friends in Southwest Florida?
So I don't know what kind of a snake. Did
Garden
you see?
snake. It was just a garden snake. It was
Okay.
nothing that could do any damage.
So do you think it was kind of out on the runway just sunning and then just kind of looked up and said, huh, what's that? And just kind of worked their way in, maybe while the guys were loading luggage and what have you?
Boy, that seems unlikely.
Okay.
For a snake to make its way down the tarmac and onto a plane.
Well, I mean, you made the plane maybe, getting luggage. It was up close to the gate there. So maybe it didn't have to go very far. But anyway, could you imagine being in the business section and the plane lands and you get up and 2-hour flight, I'm going to stretch. Where's my stuff? And you look down, snake!
More likely the snake slithered its way onto the plane on its own, or that some idiot thought they would play a great practical joke.
That ain't funny. I'm just telling you.
Was to him or her.
Especially all the national exposure it's now getting. That's not funny, Mark. That's not funny. I don't like snakes, and I like to fly. All right, but if I ever saw a snake on a plane, I may not have the love for flying that I do.
You still love flying?
I do. Absolutely.
Good for you. Because after a couple of seasons of travel, and you travel now a lot more than I ever did, I don't love it like I once did. So I'm glad to hear that you are still a fan of the friendly skies, as long as there are no snakes.
Oh, that could change it on a dime. A canceled flight, having to land and drive 5 hours. You know what? You roll with the punches. A snake on a plane? I ain't rolling with that punch. No. No. I want an immediate investigation. I want to call the FAA what in the wide world? What kind of operation are we running here?
What man screamed the loudest on that plane? That's all I want to know. And I'm very certain it was a man, not a woman.
Right.
I'm
And what
convinced
woman
of
just
that.
picked the thing up and said, what are we going to do with this?
What are we going to do with Seth Everett? We'll find out next. He's covering baseball again. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
FL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Seth, can you see the Twitch chat feed?
I could load it. Do you want me to?
No. Someone just
asked.
Asked. Because Logic Man, as he goes by in Twitch, loves your Kraken sweater.
Oh, yes. Love the sweater. Got this last year.
I had my Kraken t-shirt on yesterday during the show, Seth. We were almost double Kraken.
All Kraken all the time. Should I shut this shade? Is that blinding sun?
No, it's fine.
It's not blinding.
And it's like 36 degrees right now outside.
That's what it feels like here.
Ugh.
Like 60 here.
No, thank you.
Got socks on. I might even have to wear a pullover to play golf today, Seth.
That's crazy.
I know.
There's no justice. There's no justice.
46 here in Jacksonville, Seth.
Had a great night at the Rock last night.
Of course, just so you know, you did make the starting five because when I was going through the hockey scores, I said, and Seth Everett will be happy when he makes his appearance in 2 hours because the Devils picked
2-0.
up their first win of the year.
My daughter was in the crowd with me, and they started chanting, like about 10,000 people started chanting, "Fire Lindy." And she whips out her phone. She goes, "I'm getting this." And she filmed it. So we have this video of them literally cheering, "Fire Lindy." And I think every time the Devils lose from here on out, that's all you're going to hear. They are tired of Lindy Ruff.
And by they, we mean 10,000 because that's
the whole
their
fan base. That's
yeah,
the fan
pretty
base?
much. Well, the Rangers fan base, the joke is 18,000. They just all go to the game.
Screw the Rangers. They're a bunch of weasels.
It's funny. I don't talk about his teams this way.
I hate the Devils. I want them to lose. I've wanted them to lose every game they've played since the left wing lock.
I hate the Rangers. I hate the Islanders. I hate the Flyers. I hate the Penguins.
Really?
I think hating teams is as much fun as liking your own team in hockey.
I used to hate the Blackhawks. They're so bad, I don't know if I hate them anymore. I hated the Avalanche. Now my friend's their head coach, so I can't hate them anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you get this, Seth. You know, and all of a sudden, a team that you despise all of a sudden hires someone that you really know or like. And it's like, I was ecstatic for the Avs to win the Stanley Cup because Jared Bednar's name's on the cup. It's like, I played golf with Jared Bednar. That's really cool.
Dusty Baker getting the Astros job. That was weird.
I will say.
They were cheaters.
Yes. I will say, it's tough not to root for Dusty to win the World Series.
And this group, they've cleaned up their act. They got rid of all the weasels.
Hey, listen, they've certainly proven they can win on the up and up.
Yep.
Okay.
This is a legit
Now,
title.
did they cheat? Absolutely. But have they also proven that they can win on the up and up? Yes.
Astros in 5.
Depends. Can the Yankees get a split in Houston with bad pitching matchups? If they can get a split, they then throw Cole and Nestor 3 and 4, and this series could go back to Houston at least.
Tell you what, if the Yankees can be in front after the first inning today, that can happen.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Get him early.
Yeah. He's like Glavine. If you're going to get him, you got to get him.
Better get him early.
20 minutes.
My big debate is, do you drive to Yankee Stadium or do you drive to Manhattan and then subway it?
Oh, you subway it.
Oh, subway though. When
today
for a playoff? No, not today. It's Saturday. Saturday with like 2 hours before game time with the loonies.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, you asked. I mean, I never like to drive into the Bronx.
I hate both. I hate both. The last time I went to the Bronx, it was COVID. There were no fans. I parked right in front. It was awesome.
we were
that
all
was the last Yankee game.
We were all reminiscing about that recently. About 2 years ago it sucked, but at the same time you could leave an hour before kickoff. You could just drive up. It was awesome.
Totally.
All right, here we go, guys.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour is up, and on a Wednesday in the 8 o'clock hour, that means Seth Everett.
Oh, yeah.
He's a busy guy. Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, Text Stream, 3 terrific podcasts that he is more than a part of. They're his idea. You can follow Seth on Twitter at Seth_Everett. Seth, you do not get to answer this question. You have to sit there quietly, which is always a challenge, okay, and listen to Mark Miller's answer to the question. Mark, what is more shocking? A, Seth Everett's going to be covering both league championship series, or B, the Syracuse football team is 6-0 and ranked in the top 15?
I'm going to go with B, and it's close because Seth, I swore off Baseball Everett, is back for the NL and ALCS series.
Yeah.
But one thing I know about Seth is that he will try to outdo anybody for W-2 forms. And if it means more paychecks, whether it's October or November, Seth is willing to say yes. Syracuse being undefeated, nobody had coming.
Yeah, and I want to thank the schedulers in the ACC for scheduling that game at noon on Saturday, so I don't have to leave for the Bronx until like late third quarter. That's when Clemson will be up by 3 touchdowns. So this will work out nice. I have to squeeze in an afternoon Devils game, but other than that, it's going to be an interesting Saturday. Now, my travel is nuts. I'm going to Syracuse tomorrow.
Please.
No, but I'm driving. You fly. I'm driving all over the God's green earth. I'm going to Syracuse on Thursday. I'm going to Binghamton on the Thursday night. I'm going to Brick, New Jersey for an iHeart event. And then I'm going to Phillies Game 3. I'll be there at Citizens Bank Park for the Phillies and Padres.
Yes. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, Syracuse to Binghamton, 75 miles. It's really arduous, that travel Thursday night. That's Seth.
No, but Binghamton to Brick is a good 5 hours.
Well, no, that'll be fun for sure. In all seriousness, though, your thoughts. Okay, here we are. We had form in 3 of the 4 series in the American League. We've had absolute bat blank chaos in the National League.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. It's sports. This blank happens in sports. Your thoughts, just you're in the MLB front office and it's played out the way it's played out. What are you thinking?
Well, if I'm in the MLB front office, all I'm saying is, did ESPN's check clear? Because that's all they care about. They are not having the conversation that the 3 of us are having. Baseball doesn't care about this. Baseball was shocked when ESPN and Disney came over to them and said, your regular season's boring. We want to cover less games. The only way we'll come close to the money that we paid you in the past is if you add this extra round. And Manfred and company just said, sure. Where do you want to play them? You want to play them in December? We'll do it. No problem. And then on top of that, they scheduled the World Series for November 9th. I mean, the World Series is going on in November. And to me, it's idiotic.
Come on now. In fairness, the season started over a week late this year because of a lockout. So in the future, in theory, if it's stretched all the way to the max, you might make it to November 1st and 2nd. Remember, Seth,
that's not what they said. That's not what my guy said. What I researched is when you added this extra round, you added in essence an extra week. And so what you essentially did the last 2 seasons before this extra round, so 2019, you ended the day after Halloween. So if you're adding 5, you're going to November 6th. And November 6th is not when you play baseball. There's time. It's called Boys of Summer. What they've done is they've diminished their own regular season. They've shown that their regular season is foolhardy. And what it is that in July, when the Dodgers go on an 11-game win streak, no one should really be crazy about that. When the New York Mets are in first place by 10.5 games, nobody should really care, because what you've created is the NCAA tournament. And if you've watched, as the NCAA tournament has grown in popularity, the regular season in college basketball has become irrelevant. Make that tournament. That's all that matters. Jim Boeheim said it the other day. He just said, as long as we get in, what's the difference how we play? And so the reality of it is that's what the baseball season has become. If people are thrilled with it, then great. That's fine.
Seth,
if you want the 5 and 6 to be playing in the LCS, fine.
But Seth,
there shouldn't be a 5 and 6.
Well, yes, there should. Seth, there should. You need to have more fan bases that have more interest in your 6-month regular season. And Seth, the most popular sport in our country, has 14 playoff teams. Okay, baseball actually has.
But you play once a week. There's a
but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Your regular season is your regular season. NBA and NHL play over 6 months. Okay, they play half the games, but it's over the same length of time, and they've got 16 teams in their postseason. Seth.
Well, let's just root this in fact. Okay, let's just go by what I've attained over the 27 years of covering this Fakakta sport. The baseball teams en masse, if I told you the amount of Josh Beckett's, Jamie Moyers, Charlie Manuel's, Terry Collins have told me, baseball teams love a day off. They'll accept 2 days off. Anything more than that, the hitters say their rhythm's thrown off, the pitching routines are thrown off, extra days, short days, extra jobs, all these other things. And what's happened is you're not seeing the modicum of talent. If you give an NFL team a week off, they get healthier. If you give a baseball team a week off, they get worse.
So then the Yankees should take out the Astros then. I mean, so based on what you're saying, I should bet the Yankees in this series.
Why? Because of the 3
days
extra
off.
days?
I mean, the Astros are shot with all this time off.
No. It's not a question of that. The question is,
you just said it was.
At the end, no. Hold on.
A fact. I just gave you a fact.
But those you can't. But that you can't adjust because that's simple. One team swept and one team didn't, and there was a rainout. That's not the argument. The argument is you go from playing 162 days and the reward. And I'm not saying that this is not overcomable. You can still win. The Dodgers could have still won. The Braves could have still won. But to give your teams, your division winners, the quote unquote reward of 5 to 6 days off is dumb.
So should you immediately go to 8 teams in the playoffs, Seth? And I know you don't want
I would
more.
go
I know
back.
you don't want more, but
Go
Seth,
back.
you're not-
Less
it's not
teams in the
happening.
playoffs.
We don't go backwards, Seth.
I
If you
know.
can find me the sport that we've gone backwards in, please go ahead. You can have the rest of the hour to find it for me.
Because ESPN said we won this extra round.
Yeah,
And that was
yes,
it.
Okay,
tough
Seth,
money.
guess
We know
what?
that.
Guess what? That's why the NFL playoffs expanded too. More
But
networks
the
offering
NFL
more
playoffs
money.
hurt its product.
Well, we'll see. They just started. We've only done 1 year of 7 teams on each side. By the way, not a guarantee. Only one team got a bye. The team that got the bye in the NFC lost right away. The team that got the bye in the AFC did not. It's sports, Seth.
But
I do
over
wanna-
25 years, teams with massive layoffs have lost.
Seth, when
It
the
happens
Houston
every
Astros,
time.
when the Houston Astros win the World Series, you're going to have to take this argument and you're going to have to shove it. I'm just telling you, you're going to have to shove it. Gentlemen in the Twitch chat rooms, Money Mun Bills says, I love Seth, love every time he comes on, but when he talks baseball, he sounds like an old timer who just doesn't like any changes they make to the sport.
Well, get off my lawn. And I thought Costas was great. I turned on Costas. It was the first live game I'd seen basically all year. I turn on Costas, and he's talking about how they're outlawing the shift. And he's immediately telling me everything that I've seen in this sport instantly. And what I think the problem is I think people just want to root for the home team. That's all it is. And they don't want the state of the sport, because in my career, one thing I've always learned, and my best example of this is the steroid hearings, people care about their teams first and the sport second. And so they don't care. The only markets that were ripping baseball this year were markets where the teams were bad. Kansas City, you can't get an argument about baseball because they hate the game more than anything. That's really. So the story that I always use as the example of that is I walked out of the congressional hearing when Rafael Palmeiro wagged his finger, and I was shocked. I couldn't believe I was on Capitol Hill. I'd never done anything like that. It was such a career highlight for me. And I walk out, and the first thing, a fan comes over and recognizes me and says, "Hey, how my Mets going to do this year?" Like, that's all people care about. So if the Astros win, they don't care about this. If the Phillies win, they won't care about this. They won't.
Seth, we're not talking about them. We're talking about you. When the Astros win the World Series, everything you've just said is crap. Crap. I tell you.
Not if the Dodgers and the Braves, not for the Dodgers and the Braves.
So
both
would you
of them were
reseed,
flat.
Seth?
Both
If
of them
we're not
were
going
immediately
backwards,
flat.
would you reseed then? After each round,
I mean,
The best
again,
teams
if you
should play
can't
the
go
worst.
backwards, my idea, I loved the one game, and the argument for the one game was you had to reward the division winners so that they don't have to play that.
Right.
That was the idea.
Seth,
find a way to reward the division winners, and if reseeding does it.
We all get it. Yeah. We get it. But you need to accept the fact the sport has moved on.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's 1 year. Can we at least have 3 before we decide? And and we sit back, and if 2 out
we'll
of
have
3,
the flying car by then.
Seth, I got to be honest with you. If I was Major League Baseball, I wouldn't give you a credential. No, I'm serious.
They were eager.
Well, because I don't know if you could be objective. I mean,
I can be objective.
I
think this is very objective.
Not. No, you're not.
It's very objective.
No, you're not. You think the sport sucks. You think every single thing about the sport sucks. I am all free press all the time. But man, if I was in the Major League Baseball office, I'd have a real problem giving you a credential.
Well,
give it to you. I'd give it to you, but man, I'd be like, listen, we're giving it to him. We might as well. I'll tell you what he's going to write right now.
I don't write.
Well, you know what I mean.
I know. They listen to my podcast, though. That's all I know.
Well, speaking of which, what's on the podcast, Seth?
This week, we actually are doing a pretty baseball-centric episode. The great Paul Olden It's kind of baseball. It's baseball history. Paul Olden is the public address announcer for Yankee Stadium, but he's much more than that. He is the former voice of the LA Rams, the Cleveland then Indians, the Tampa Bay then Devil Rays. He was the voice of the Super Bowl, public address for the Super Bowl for 15 years. He was the play-by-play announcer for the New York Jets. He was also the guy who I interned for in 1994 when I got a call at the stock exchange from some trader on the trading floor who said, "Hey, could you clear up a rumor? O.J. Simpson killed his wife?" That was that story. And also, Paul Olden was the guy who asked Tommy Lasorda what he thought of Dave Kingman's performance in 1978 when Tommy Lasorda read him the Riot Act. He had that, and then he sold the tape to Rhino Records. Paul Olden's an old friend, a great guy. Now he's the public address announcer for Yankee Stadium, has been at every game since the new park opened in 2009. Paul Olden, great on Sports with Friends. Hall of Justice is She-Hulk. Review of She-Hulk.
Oh, I'm glad you explained that because I thought you cursed there for a second.
You thought I did, yeah.
I did.
Well, they cursed in that show.
Okay. All right. Text stream. Hey, did you use my idea that I sent you for text stream or no?
No, we did a thing on the Supreme Court with the Andy Warhol using the image of Prince. And also there's a political campaign in Pennsylvania. You guys know the race where they stole a bunch of the campaign signs from people's lawns. And so the people who are putting up the signs put Apple AirTags on them, and they caught the guys.
Nice.
Somehow, some way, in visiting my mother-in-law in Pittsburgh, somehow my phone got tracked where they think I'm a Pittsburgh voter, and I constantly am getting texts nonstop on this election. So I am, because I'm looking, what the hell is this?
Dr. Oz. What?
Dr. Oz. Yep. We have a book here from Dr. Oz somewhere in this. I can't find it.
Well, that could be Senator Oz. He's Seth Everett, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, and Text Stream. Follow him on Twitter at Seth_.
Photos
Everett.
from Citizens Bank Park and Yankee Stadium on my Twitter feed this weekend.
That's outstanding.
Have an open mind, Seth.
I will. Right. I'm looking forward to it. A lot of friends going to be there, going to hang out, going to do.
Right. Well, sure. A lot of people from Syracuse. I mean, you could talk college football while you're there.
We might just watch the game together.
Safe travels, buddy.
See you guys.
Thanks, Seth.
Seth wearing his Seattle Kraken golf shirt today. Is that a shirt or a pullover sweater?
Looked like a pullover.
Okay. Well,
it's chilly in Jersey.
It is. It's mid-30s there. Yeah.
Apparently it's chilly in Jacksonville too.
It's balmy. It's 47 now.
As our brief winter is upon us here in Florida, hope that you're doing the necessary things to keep yourself warm today. Tampa, St. Pete, Lake City, and Port Charlotte. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning. The bonus hour, including Aric Almirola, coming up next on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
All right. I forget, was it Logic Man, whoever made the point about, hey, the Dodgers and Braves both lost to division teams, maybe familiarity, played a role, maybe, but then again, the Astros swept the Mariners. And they dominated them in the regular season, and they swept them in the playoffs. So I just don't think people can accept the fact it's sports.
It's sports. I attribute some of it to the fact the Dodgers didn't play a meaningful game since, when did the Dodgers have a series that they walked into and said, holy crap, we got to get 2 out of 3 here. This is a big one.
In early summer, them and the Padres were close, and I think they played a 3 or 4 gamer, and they swept it, and that was it. And then from that moment on, they were in control.
And they had the 1 seed throughout. They weren't even playing for best record in the NL at all. I mean, they were so far ahead of the Mets and the Braves. So
I think the argument, by the way, is not take away the few days off. Is I would make the division series a best of 7, and I would reseed. To me, the longer the series is, the better the chance that the quote-unquote better team will win. So, and you're right, Guillermo. I mean, the Yankees in 2000 lost 16-19 heading into the playoffs, won the World Series. I mean, it's sports.
KW, it's an interesting concept. I tell everybody I'm a registered Republican. I'm probably lean more independent, but the fact of the matter is I live somewhere that there is not a Republican or not a Democrat that has a shot at winning any, state rep, U.S. rep. They don't have a shot. So I want to vote in the primaries. I've always felt that way. If I lived in Michigan, I might register as a Democrat for the same reason.
Yeah, and I'm independent, and I love the fact that I don't get robocalls.
No, if they would change it and let everybody vote in the primaries like they should, it would be different.
But let's face it, neither party's interested in having the masses actually decide the elections. They just want to get one more vote from their sliver than you have from your sliver.
You got that right. I don't know how Moulton and Miller can figure this out. No one else seems to.
Well, the problem is to change the law. Guess who would have to change it?
Well, right.
People who are fixing the game anyway.
I mean, it's the old Carlin bit.
Yep. Yeah, rank choice. What a crap. That's absurd.
Wonder if I laid off because this is the first primary I missed in a long, long time.
But the storm probably did that, right? Or no?
It was August 23rd. I just didn't know.
That's right.
I didn't know who anybody was, David. I'd paid so little attention. I was like,
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, it's the bonus hour on a lively Hump Day edition of Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. If you missed any of the show, you'll want to go to the website, download our podcast. We had Bud Elliott on right around 7:30. We had Alain Poupart on talking Dolphins 1 hour ago, and, well, it's always lively with Seth. And we chastised Seth a little bit today.
That was a little yelling.
We took it to Seth today. Seth took it to us. We pushed back. Yeah. So there.
And he'll be back on next Wednesday to do the same thing all over again.
Yeah, it's kind of like that old political show Crossfire. Okay, you know they're going to chomp at each other. Oh, okay, but you turned in for the chomping anyway. I loved Crossfire. That was the first that I remembered, hey, I'm from the right and I'm from the left, that nobody even trying to play the middle. And then they'd bring guests on, and for the most part, both of them would beat up on the guests. I remember watching that show thinking to myself, man, it's kind of like when you agreed to the Mike Wallace interview. We all would sit there and go, dude, why did you say yes to this? Did you really think this was going to work out well for you? It's the same with Crossfire. It's like, you're going to get it from both sides. Are you nuts?
It is the best line in Birdcage. When Lemon's sitting there and he's got Hackman sitting there and he's on Crossfire and they are just screaming. They do it times 100 where all four of them are talking at the same time on top of one other yelling and screaming. And he looks at his wife in the movie and he says, it's the most intelligent show on television. That was Miller, Moulton, and Seth about 20 minutes ago right there.
Yeah, a little overlap there. We usually give room, but Seth was he was filibustering. I felt we needed to interrupt the filibuster.
Well, it was filibustering with the same material. He's had the same argument, and we've got his argument. So
yeah, we got it. It is interesting though. 12 of 30 in baseball. Does it feel big and cumbersome to you? It doesn't to me. I don't feel that the regular season's diminished.
Here's the problem I had, and I said this before, so after chastising Seth for repeating, I'm going to repeat myself. I had trouble taking the first round seriously. I mean, you had 3 of the 4 were sweeps. There was
okay.
They were all in one ballpark. Just the way that series, without playing a game in each ballpark, is it anything more than a regular season series? That was like an extension of the regular season to me more than it was a playoff round, David.
Okay. I just don't know. Listen, we all love winner go home games. And the 2 one-game wild cards certainly had appeal, just like we love the Monday playoff that they used to have to, game 163, some of the most famous games in baseball history. But, the shot heard around the world from Bobby Thompson, that was a best of 3 to determine the National League pennant. The Dodgers and Giants finished tied. At the time, the tiebreaker was not a one-game playoff. It was a best of 3. Now, Mark, they did do now, fortunately, the 2 teams were, 6 miles apart. And so it was one ballpark, their ballpark, and then another ballpark. But I mean, they did a best of, so 70 plus years ago, they did a best of 3 essentially. And then you went to the World Series. I don't know. Sport was okay. Did all right.
I just think it took a while to get these playoff series started. I honestly think the delay helped baseball. Because yesterday, even with all the football people, we're talking about Yankees Guardians. It was top of mind. And how many times? What would have happened? I mean, first off, they didn't even want to play on Sunday if they could have avoided it.
Correct.
But what happened is, because of the weather delays, it actually got extended into the next week. And this is our argument all the time with the college football playoff. They play their games on a Friday and a Saturday, and by the time we get to Monday, we're talking about the NFL and the upcoming playoffs, and we've largely lost what was the college football semifinal. It's why you and I play the games on a Thursday.
Correct. We give the NFL its time. All right. And everybody, to bask in the glory of the final week of the regular season or the wild card weekend, whichever it is. And then by Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday, it's kind of like, hey, we got the college football championship game coming up Thursday night. And they'd get their 48 hours. And then it's the NFL playoffs on Saturday. So even Friday morning and afternoon, it's kind of like, oh, man, how about Ohio State winning the title? Man, that was a good game last night, what have you. Yeah. And then you move on to the NFL. But, what do we know? Because literally the championship Monday, I mean, we're talking about the NFL till like dinner. And then it's like, hey, do you know they play for the college football title in 2 hours? What? Really?
And this is two show hosts who love college football, trying to figure
Right.
out how you're going to get it in on a Monday when that much has happened in the National Football League.
I actually kind of like the best of 3. I do think I would like to give it a 5 or so year sample and see if an inordinate number of 4, 5, and 6s make it to the LCS. But we went through this before in baseball when they first they did the wild card. They added one team. The wild card teams did really well. It didn't make a difference at all if you were a division winner or you were the 4. I mean, the Marlins won 2 World Series as a wild card team.
More times than not, what was the wild card team doing? Playing their tails off to get into the postseason. They've been playing playoff baseball sometimes for 2 or 3 weeks prior to that game.
And so what did they do? They added a team to the playoffs to do what? At least make it so that the wild card winner can't start the next series with their ace. That the 1 seed would get that advantage. They would play first game of the 5-game division series, and they'd have their ace against their number 2, in theory. We all know end of the regular season days, who's pitching when, it could be altered. But that was quote unquote in theory. And it did reduce the number of wild card teams going to and winning the World Series. Now, in the first year of adding another playoff team, we got 5 against 6 in the NLCS. Oh, okay. All right. It's baseball. It's sports. I mean, Mark, to me, this is the Final Four when we had UConn and Butler playing for the national title. It happens.
But we don't watch. For as much as we like to say that we love upsets and upsets are what make us want to watch sports and we're rooting for these underdogs, we don't.
Oh, no.
Because the numbers never translate. That Final Four you're talking about was the worst rated Final Four
ever.
Generation.
Yeah, and there's no doubt Dodgers Mets in a division round would have done great, and then the winner against the Braves would have done really well. Absolutely. But over on the other side, they're getting Houston and the Yankees. They can't ask for anything more.
No, and the atmosphere yesterday in San Diego is fantastic, and they
Right.
lost. And it's going to be the same way in Philly. I mean, the surprise and excitement of these two fan bases when you tune in and watch, I mean, it was a fun watch. Now, there wasn't a lot of hits, and the game went by relatively quickly.
I'm okay if teams who don't normally have success have success. You know, it's the Phillies hadn't made the playoffs in 11 years, and now they're having a little bit of a run. Cool. That's a good fan base. They care. They put over they put 2.4 to 2.6 million people in that park every year, even when they're going 78 and 84. It's okay. It's all right. It really is.
Well, and besides, they have one of the game stars. Harper is worth watching every time he comes to the plate.
Yeah, and come on. They got the fat beer league softball guy who's leading the league in home runs, too. I mean, come on. How can you not root for that? And then the Padres are fun. You know, it'd be better if they had Tatis, but, you know, they trash talk. They showboat. Right. He just had another surgery, by the way.
Yes, he did.
Huh. You wonder if he's going to turn into Troy Tulowitzki, to be honest with you. Tremendous talent at shortstop. Couldn't stay healthy. You just wonder. He's 23. He's had 3 major surgeries already. 23.
And you wonder how much breaking down is going to happen because he's obviously not on the up and up.
No, come on, dude. Something was in his food, Mark. He's not doing the steroids.
But you wonder if the breakdowns are going to come because of everything he's putting in his body as well. It's the one thing you don't know. And I know people are speaking, I can't believe Miller's saying that. He's the guy. No, there are consequences with everything that you do.
By the way, if we could just work it in, the Yankees finally get their shot at the Astros. Isn't this like the first time since the whole cheating LCS and the Astros won in 7 in 2017? Like they both made the playoffs every year, but have they met in the playoffs?
They played 19 too, didn't they?
Did they? Okay.
17 and 19, and the Astros got them both times.
Gotcha.
Well, that was the series that Altuve had the walk-off, no?
Oh, that's right, against Chapman. That was 19, right. Right. That's when the accusation, when he said, don't rip my jersey off, because he apparently was getting, like, he had a thing attached to his chest and they were stealing the signs and they were 1-tap fastball, 2 taps off speed. Right.
Craziest part about that was the last home game they won that season.
That's right. Because then the Nats Astros World Series, you had 7. See, and that's the thing that I don't think Seth's taken into consideration. I mean, think about that. We had a World Series. We had 7 games. Road team went 7-0. It's sports. Blank happens. It's why we watch, by the way. It's why we watch. Why do you think there's less and less interest in politics? Why do you think there's less and less interest in so many aspects of our life? Because we feel as if we really know what's going to happen, as if the thing isn't somewhat rigged, if you know what I mean, that we have less and less influence over it. We have no influence on what's going to happen in sports, but we care so damn much and we have no idea what's going to happen. And
boy, we
that's
sure
why we
do,
love
though.
it.
We can change our seat. We can change our shirt.
Totally. Get off the couch. Why? We're losing. That's my seat.
And that'll make a difference if I move from this seat to that seat.
I was sitting there. We were winning 4-0. Now we're losing 6-5. Get out of my chair. Get me a drink.
Miller and Moulton. We will switch gears, literally, and talk some NASCAR on the other side. Aric Almirola joins us next on Miller and Moulton.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Okay, David, I just got your text.
Yes, Trent. With both Gary on Saturdays and Troy on Mondays.
You know, I used to have a podcast, and it was called the Filibuster Podcast.
You know what? That's good. Actually, don't put podcast on it.
Just
call
the
it
the filibuster.
Yeah. But KW, you know, the Packers were 13-3 last year. They had home field advantage. They had everybody healthy. They lost. I mean, Tennessee, best record. Week off, which helped them get Derrick Henry on the field. And they lost. I'll ask him about Homestead, and then you can get into the whole playoff thing. Because he had made it 4 straight years before this one. They offered. I figured, they did the whole, you got 9 minutes. And I said, well, the first minute, we're going to be sitting there in silence. So they're like, well, you need to be out by 29. I said, well, we're definitely going to be out by 30. I can tell you that. Because we go to break at 31. So don't worry. We'll behave.
Aric, Almirola is on hold.
Awesome. Adam, I like the, Homestead after they redesigned it. I hated the original Homestead. Flat, one groove track. I hated it.
I really like that Homestead is right next to that Air Force base. Because the flyovers are always insane.
When the lightning bolt comes down, make sure you slide out of the way, okay? Kind of like Collinsworth into the shot, just.
15 seconds.
How about Chris Collinsworth Sunday night, huh? Get a little carried away, big fella.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
And thrilled to be joined once again by Aric Almirola, driver of the number 10 Smithfield Ford Mustang for Stewart Hott Racing. He is a Floridian. He's a Tampa native. So he's coming back home again to race at Homestead, so to speak, where he's had 2 top 5s and 4 top 10s. Aric, it's David and Mark once again. Thanks for your time. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Well, it is our pleasure. Listen, tell us about you. I mean, you're Floridian. I would think you like Daytona, you like Homestead, but, sometimes it doesn't matter. It could be next door. If you don't like the track, you don't like the track. How do you like Homestead?
I love Homestead. It's one of my favorite racetracks we go to all year. I've had a lot of great runs down there, so that always makes it more enjoyable when you go to a place you run well at. And plus, just, being from Florida, getting off the airplane, flying from Charlotte, North Carolina down there, getting off the airplane and feeling that warm, salty air in South Florida, it just feels like home. So I really enjoy going down there to race.
I sure hope you're not getting off the plane this morning. We're getting those 2 days of winter, Aric. It's tough around here. I think it's a mere 60 this morning. How different is it this year? You're not racing the playoffs. How different is it driving when you're not in the playoffs and the playoff is going on? It's unlike any other sport that we cover where people are racing while the playoffs are going on. It doesn't happen in any of the stick and ball sports. It doesn't happen in golf. So just talk about driving in the playoff when you're not in it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's so different from other sports. The fact that even if you're not in the playoffs, you're still involved in the action, and that you have an impact in the outcome of the championship and the playoffs. So certainly different, but it's still it still makes it exciting. I think it would be kind of boring for the fans for there to only be 4 cars or 8 cars or even 16 cars in the playoffs start on the racetrack. I think the fact that all the cars are still on the racetrack and we're putting on a normal race, but that the guys in the playoffs are racing kind of their own separate point system to become the champion is what makes our sport so cool. And it is very challenging to find that balance. If you're in the playoffs, you want everybody that's not in the playoffs to just move over and get out of your way. And if you're not in the playoffs, you're like, man, I don't care if you're racing for the playoffs or not. Like, I still have a team to try and run good for. I have sponsors to run good for. And oh, by the way, this is my livelihood. It pays way more money to run 5th than it does 15th. So performance is a direct result of income. And so when you factor all those things in, everybody's going to go out on the racetrack and still race just as hard.
But is it any different in terms of, like, say a normal, race in midseason at 200 laps, and I don't know how much communication goes on in the final 20 laps about where your teammate is, or, hey, can you get behind so-and-so, help them out? Is it any different at all in the playoffs than it is, say, in May and June in terms of the communication and how you drive?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we're all very competitive, and we're all racing to get the best result we can for our team and our sponsors. And like I said, as a driver, I make way more money to win than I do to finish 30th. There's a big difference in my income based on how I finish. So I think, we're incentivized to race our heart out and to get the best finish we can. Certainly, you're aware of what's going on, especially if your teammates are involved in the playoffs. So you're aware of those situations, and you don't want to do anything to negatively impact your teammates. But at the end of the day, for me specifically, I want to make sure that I get the job done for my guys on my team that work so hard to give me the best race car they can. And I want to get the job done for Smithfield and for Ford and Mobile One and, Go Bowling and all the people that support our program, Gene Haas and Haas CNC and just, everybody that's involved. You want to make sure that you're doing your part to get them the best result and try and win the race.
Speaking of the race car, you've been at this a long time. The new car this year, a whole year under driving the car. What are your thoughts? How did this, in your estimation, work out?
As far as the new car,
yeah,
I think the new car is exactly what we all expected. It's a opportunity and it's a steep learning curve. We had 10 years of notes with the old car, and you could go to the racetrack with a real good idea of what you were going to have that weekend. And, you knew what the car was going to feel like when you strapped in to go out for practice, and you were just trying to tweak it and fine tune it, where now we show up to the racetrack and for most weekends, you really don't know what to expect until you run those first few laps of practice. So it is a steep learning curve because everything's different about it. The car, the aerodynamics, the braking system, the way the car drives, the tire is different. It's a bigger tire, wider tire with less sidewall. So there's so many variables with this new car that I think everybody in the industry is still trying to sort through a lot of it.
You think it was a coincidence that you had so many winners this year, or no?
No, not at all. I think it's not a coincidence. I think it's a direct correlation to the fact that it's a brand new car, and that on any given weekend, one team with the right setup and that guessed right at what they needed at that particular track would hit on it and have a fast race car. And so I think as time goes on, you will see where the good teams, start to really find all the details that they need to make this race car go faster, and they'll find the edge. They'll find the edge, and you'll see where there will be less winners as time goes on. But for right now, there's weekends where the big teams and the teams that you would expect to run up front all the time, they show up and they miss it. And maybe it was because their simulation tool was off, or maybe it was because the idea that they had going to the racetrack that weekend didn't work out, and another race team, came up with a new idea with this new car that made them fast on that weekend.
All right, final question for Aric Almirola, driver of the number 10 Smithfield Ford Mustang for Stewart Hott Racing. Homestead this weekend, 3 races left in the season. But is it 3 races left in your career? You announced your retirement at the beginning of the year. We talked to you 2 months ago, and you went, I don't know. So is this it?
Man, you guys got your head buried in the sand. Come on, guys. I announced, I announced a couple months ago that this wasn't going to be it, that I'm coming back and going to continue to race. The sponsor, Smithfield Foods, has asked me to come back and drive the car. The team wanted me to continue to stick around and race. And to be quite honest, just family dynamics had changed to where my wife and kids were on board and didn't feel like we were making as much of a sacrifice for me to continue to race. So just everything aligned. I feel like it was God's timing, and doors were opened and opportunity was still there. And I'm excited about continuing on at least for a little while to keep racing and keep chasing my dreams and try and win some more races and go race for a championship.
Well, Aric, we're very appreciative of your time. Best of luck this weekend in the final 3 races of this year, and hopefully we can talk again next year.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Thank you.
Aric Almirola, Tampa native, racing in his home state at Homestead. He's had 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s.
Something about people in Tampa extending retirement.
Hell, he's young compared to Brady. I mean, he's in his 30s.
Another retired guy said Brady doesn't like it anymore. Don't know if you caught those comments yesterday. We'll touch on some of that.
Real quick, did you guys see the graphic that they put up of Kenny Pickett's career and Tom Brady's career?
Yes, I thought it was a very unnecessary graphic.
Yeah.
Today was the day when the good, the bad, and the ugly, what's on tap, all still ahead, plus one quarterback to another, what they are seeing. We'll have that on the other side. We thank you so much for listening to Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
A, I did miss the Almirola announcement, but B, in their PR material that they sent, they literally announced his retirement before the season. Did not include he's coming back. Okay, in their PR material, they said, hey, he's announced his retirement. How funny is that?
Sanibel Causeway set to reopen this morning. I'll be damned.
That is amazing.
It really is. Apparently, there's more flesh-eating bacteria in the water than ever before.
Okay. And apparently it's in Southwest Florida, right?
Yes. To island traffic, Logic Man. Hang on. Sanibel Causeway reopened at 11 a.m. for the citizens of Lee County. For all of you that don't like him, I'll get a lot of heat, but that's my good, and I'm sticking with it. The damn causeway's open in less than a month. Are you kidding me?
So Disney just changed my flight. I was going to fly to Newark, and they just said, "Nah, we're going to send you to LaGuardia instead." There's a little difference.
What's that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Right. There's a little difference between Newark and I mean, it was not like I'm going to and then go somewhere else. No, that was like destination, land, get off plane. No, sorry, Newark's too expensive. It's too expensive of a flight. We're going to drop you off at LaGuardia.
Who did this?
Disney. I just got the email. It's too expensive. Is it okay if we drop you off at LaGuardia? I went, no. So we'll see how that goes. And the other thing is they already rebooked it and then sent the email saying, is it okay? It's kind of like being married. Oh, boy. By the way, if you'd booked the flight when I sent you the plans, it wouldn't be too expensive. But
Well, then there's always that.
Yeah, well, let's not let that get in the way. I don't want to get into the city, Adam. That's the thing. Although, Adam, I could argue you land at Newark and you get right on the subway there and you can take it right into Penn Station. I don't know how that could be any more convenient. You don't even have to see the outside world.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes until we're out of here." Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. What do we got tomorrow? Talk a little Dolphins, a little Bucks. Our normal Thursday. No Dr. Roto tomorrow. Unfortunately, he had a death in his family. And so we send our condolences to our friend. And we'll talk to him again in a week's time. I will say this, Mark. I was doing a little research yesterday. Apparently, because points are down. Scoring's down everywhere. I'm guessing it's been a much harder year for those that play fantasy football. You're not getting the normal production you normally get from guys. 4 of the top 5 fantasy football point producers this year are off this week because of buys.
That would make sense because look at the group that's off, the pretty good group of teams that are not playing this week. And so I know the Vikings are off and Jefferson's been a beast.
Mm-hmm.
So
just throwing that. So you finally got your group of guys. They're producing. You know who they are. Most of them ain't playing this week.
So I mentioned before the break, a quarterback was talking about quarterbacks. Big Ben offering his comments on Tom Brady and said it didn't look like he wanted to be out there. He said, there's no way he's enjoying this. No way. I was enjoying being up there watching the game. It didn't look fun to him. Obviously, he didn't say anything. He was one defending the going to the wedding. He said he missed a walkthrough. It's nothing. But he did question how much Tom wants to play. And the only thing I would say to that is that Ben didn't look like he wanted to play last year. And so maybe he can see it. But he's got his own podcast. Those were his observations yesterday on Brady. Pretty easy game to pick on Brady because Brady played lousy and was knocked on his butt a lot.
Right. That's interesting. I don't see that. I don't see what Ben sees. In fact, if anything, I think he's trying really, really hard because of everything that's going on. We all know he came back for one more year. We all know what's going on in his personal life. Okay. And I mean, this is it. And he knows it. I think he's trying really hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Think about it. When you've gone this long without getting any, you're frustrated.
Jeez.
I just meant first quarter touchdowns, David. I don't know what the hell you were thinking.
Right. I knew it was in the red zone. Right. Mm-hmm. Yep. I knew that's where you went.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
What do you think about that for a line to your wife? Hey, honey, it's time to go to the red zone.
And she goes, red zone channel's on? Never mind.
1781, David. Big day today. Cornwallis signs terms of surrender to Washington at Yorktown, ending the Revolutionary War. I'd say that was a biggie.
Listen, that's our first big W right there. We've got a lot of them up on the wall, but that was our first pelt.
1870, the first African Americans, 4 of them were elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. 1957, Rocket Richard becomes the first NHLer to score 500 goals. Today in 1960, we imposed our embargo on exports to Cuba, and Martin Luther King was arrested in the Atlanta sit-in. 1966, Bobby Orr, number 4, makes his regular season debut with the Bruins against the Red Wings. 1975, A Chorus Line premieres on Broadway. It would hold the record for the longest running show when it would end at 6,137 performances.
This is not an exaggeration. I saw it 7 or 8 times. My mother saw it 15.
Of all the things I could be jealous of you for, because you got a cool job and all that, the fact that you as a kid went to the city that much and took in Broadway, I look back, that's really remarkable for someone that's from Michigan. To you, it's not a big deal being from Jersey, but being where you could get on a train and be in New York City and see the theater, because those were things that not only I didn't experience, there was no way for me to experience them.
I tried to tell my mom, Mark, when I went to college and I was getting into this business, and how I went to college 2 hours from where I grew up. I could not watch any of the teams that I grew up watching in northeastern PA from where I lived in north central Jersey. And I tried to explain to my mom that the New York market is the number 1 market in the country. People work their whole careers to make it here. All right. I am now off Broadway. You're Broadway. And yes, Mark, I mean, to be able to take a high school date and just 15 minutes, get on the train, 40 minutes later, you're in New York City. You walk 15 blocks and you're at a Chorus Line. And then you get something to eat, you get back on the train, you go home, you drop her off, kiss on the cheek, and you go home.
Look at him. He just big time me even with that. I gave him a compliment, and he big time me because he even threw out the dates that he took to Broadway in high school.
Just Michelle Clancy. That's all. Just Michelle
Play
Clancy.
Today in 87, Black Monday, when the stock market fell 508 points, which was 22%, 4.5 times the previous daily record. Dances with Wolves premiered today in 1990. Cher released Believe in 1999. And the Tampa Bay Rays beat the Boston Red Sox in Game 7 to go to the World Series today in 2008.
David Price as a rookie out of the bullpen.
Peter Tosh would have been 78 today. Actor John Lithgow is 77. Former quarterback Lynn Dickey is 73. Evander Holyfield is 60. Brad Doherty is 57. And Louis Oosthuizen is 40. And that, David, is today was a day win, except for what I missed.
Well, I got to be honest with you. I don't know what you missed.
Good. It's a good day for me.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes, it was, Mark. Yes, it was.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
Literally the only thing I was going to throw at you to make us all, well, not all of us, Felipe, go what? But make you and I feel a little old. The very first Blockbuster store opened today in 85.
Oh, I had a Blockbuster by my house.
Oh, all right.
Oh yeah, that was
they're
back
a
in
Lauderdale company, weren't they? I think their headquarters was I thought their headquarters was in Lauderdale.
Really?
I don't hold me to it, but I thought from my sales days that I remembered that.
Those are the days. Those are the days where Netflix was a CD in an envelope.
That's right. So 37 years ago today, Mark, the very first Blockbuster store. How about that rise and fall, huh?
All right. The good happens at 11 o'clock this morning. The Sanibel Causeway is going to be reopened.
That's amazing.
Are you kidding me? It is amazing what happens when you can put the red tape behind and get a job done. So congratulations to everybody that made that happen. That is absolutely awesome. For the bad, we'll stay in Florida, where Matthew Liam is facing charges after slicing up a friend with a razor. 24-year-old male engaged in a physical altercation over a verbal dispute over a cell phone. That 4:30 fight outside of a gas station caused him to use a razor and cut his friend on the neck and leg. It's easy to identify Matthew because he has a tattoo of the state of Florida right on his forehead with the peninsula coming down to the bridge of his nose. There's no way that this guy won't spend the rest of his life in jail. Finally, the ugly. We go to Winter Haven, Florida, where a father and son saw that someone was outside the door on their doorbell camera. So they did what any sane people would do. They armed themselves and went out to find who was suspected of burglary. And they fired 7 shots into the car. Problem was, it was a neighbor who was bringing over a package that had been delivered to her house by mistake. Fortunately, the woman is going to be okay. And the 2 men are going to go to jail. That is the good, the bad, and the disturbingly ugly on today, October the 19th, 2022.
That good, those. I mean, amazing. And yes, your commentary about it, amazing what can be done when you, well, do things the way they're probably should be done.
You said it opens today?
11 a.m.
I might go take some pictures.
Is there any restrictions or limitations as to?
I tried to go through the article and I didn't see them. It doesn't mean that there are not.
Well, I'll be your test dummy. I'll find out.
Well, and also, like Felipe, what I'm wondering, the restrictions could be, hey, it can only be people who have a driver's license that says Sanibel Captiva.
That would be my guess. That's the way they were with Fort Myers Beach. I don't know how they wouldn't be with Sanibel Captiva. And I'm seeing someone saying residents only. I would be shocked if it wasn't residents only. That's the way it was with Pine Island. That's the way it was with Fort Myers Beach. I'm sure that's the way it's going to be with Sanibel Captiva. The fact of the matter is they can drive over the damn causeway that had 4 breaches in it in less than a month. Way to go.
Exactly.
There's no way a couple of weeks ago that we would have thought that would have happened. Even the most optimistic of us, I don't think could have expected this work to get done that quickly. So just a tremendous job. We're going through this rebuild for years. This isn't an overnight thing. And to see some positives like this, I just think are such great reinforcement for our community.
It's very trivial in the grand scheme of things, but so is sports when you really think about it. We have college football tonight on ESPN2 if you want to watch. Georgia State, App State. App State, a 9.5-point favorite. 7:30, ESPN2. You got 2 baseball games, one today, one tonight. Today is the National League, and that'll be a beautiful afternoon game in San Diego. Maybe some shadows in the very end of the game, maybe, but I don't think so because it's like a 1:30, I think, local around, what's it, 4:30 today?
Yeah, it'll be perfect. Absolutely.
FS1, I believe, right? They don't get the big Fox treatment yet, I don't believe. I think they're still no, they get the big Fox treatment. How about that? Oh, all those Fox affiliates nationwide going to be stuck with the Phillies and the Padres. All their money-making shows are not going to be able to air. Oh, that'll be fantastic. 4:30 on Fox, Game 2 of the NLCS. Game 1 of the ALCS, 7:30 on TBS. Justin Verlander, after getting shelled against the Mariners, we'll see how he does in Game 1 against the Yanks.
Flyers and Panthers tonight. Tampa was a minus 290. The Panthers are minus 325 tonight after the Flyers beat the Lightning last night.
Well, come on. I know it's a Tortorella team and all that, but it's tough not to enjoy a beverage or two after you beat the Lightning in Tampa. I mean, you sure we get the Flyers' best effort tonight?
Oh, I don't think so. I'm just pointing out that it's minus 325. Jets are at the Lanch, and the Blues are at the Kraken.
By the way, I will say tonight's a TNT NHL doubleheader night. The Flyers-Panthers game's on TNT, and then the Blues-Kraken game is on TNT, 7:30 and 10 o'clock. How about that? The Panthers getting some national television action this week, and the Dolphins on Sunday Night Football.
I'm trying to think of the last time the Florida Panthers had a non-playoff game that was nationally televised.
Exactly. Now, I mean, they're not doing it for the Panthers. They're doing it because it's the Flyers, but still.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter at all. TNT. So TBS with the ALCS, TNT with the NHL, double dip, 7:30 and 10. Tonight's an ESPN NBA doubleheader. The early game, I have to admit, and I'm a Knicks fan, but come on, you could have done better than Knicks Grizzlies at 7:30.
Whoa.
You really could have.
John Morant.
No, I understand that, but how about Pelicans Nets at 7:30? Zion returning, KD and Kyrie, the whole saga, and I'm a Knicks fan. I would have chose New Orleans, Brooklyn.
Is it in Brooklyn or New Orleans?
It's in Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn. And then 10 o'clock's the rematch, Mavs Suns from the playoffs last year.
But the Magic get started tonight. They take on the Pistons in Detroit at 7, and the Heat have their home opener tonight against the Bulls. The Heat are a 6.5-point favorite at home against Chicago.
Basketball.
So just remember on Wednesday.
I think Felipe just committed an FCC violation right there. I'm not positive.
I was going to say that's
breathing.
We're going to submit that. Well, heavy breathing. People are going to think it was an ad for like Pornhub or something. I mean, we're going to probably have to answer a phone call or two.
Not a doubt in my mind about that.
Okay, pause. Okay, continue.
So there you have it. Another good sports night. Doubleheader hockey on TNT, doubleheader hoops on ESPN, doubleheader baseball, Fox and TBS. Even throw in a little college football if you need to see helmet and shoulder pads because it's been a day on ESPN2 at 7:30.
Pretty pictures if it's still light out when that game starts from Boone. I will give it that. Don't know how good the football will be, but it'll be pretty pictures from Boone, North Carolina.
That's true.
If you missed any of the show today, you can download it at all the usual places. We thank you for listening. We'll do it again all over tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters.